Hello and welcome to WGTC Radio, the official podcast of entertainment website We Got This Covered. I'm Jonathan Lack.
And I'm Sean Chapman.
And we are here to talk about stuff, including, but not necessarily limited to, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yes, the hot new release in video gamins.
I don't think hot is a strong enough word.
Super hot.
They have made...
Super hot.
They have made obscene amounts of money.
Yes, they have made over $1 billion so far.
Just obscene.
Yes. Broke all sorts of manners of records.
Yes. I think every record that stands for entertainment launches.
Yeah, like they made $800 million on the first
day one.
Yeah.
Billion in 3 days. Nothing in entertainment history has ever even come close
like
to that.
The record holder before that was Black Ops 2, which was $500 million on the first day. I don't know.
And
I think it took it like a while to reach $1 billion.
15 days to reach $1 billion. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like 15 days to reach $1 billion. What pussies? Like, Jesus.
So now we will see a Grand Theft Auto game every 6 months, right?
No, like I think that's one of the key reasons why GTA always sells so much is that they don't make one every fucking day.
Yeah,
like
it's not owned by Activision.
Yeah.
If Rockstar ever gets sold to Activision, though, there will be GTA 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all in the same year.
Yeah.
Be like Guitar Hero. Grand Theft Auto Aerosmith, Grand Theft Auto Metallica, where it's just all the radio stations are different. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they're the same game. Mm-hmm. All right.
Anyways,
we got a little bit of...
move on to actually talking about something substantial.
Yes. We're going to talk about Grand Theft Auto 5 today. It's a long game. It's a big game. Neither of us have finished the story of it. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review, largely, of Grand Theft Auto 5. If you haven't played it yet and you don't want to know anything about it, don't listen to this podcast, obviously.
Don't go, put on earplugs when you go outside. Yeah. Don't go on the internet, just anywhere on the internet.
Right.
Because you're going to hear or see something about the fucking game.
Yeah, but we will not be spoiling anything substantial. It's just we're going to talk about the mechanics, the gameplay, the world itself, maybe some things, what we think about the characters and whatnot. Yeah. But overall, this will be sort of the gameplay portion of our review, and next week... when I assume we'll both have had ample time to finish it. We will talk.
I should definitely finish it by next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about the story in detail. Do a sort of like when we talked about The Last of Us, where we talked more about the story than the gameplay. That kind of thing. Before then, got some video game news to talk about.
Yes, we do. Like hot news just came out today. Like I read it on my iPhone while I was walking to class this morning.
Yes. And let's see. So you want to start there with Steam? Has been announcing some things.
Steam, like just a couple of days ago, maybe it was longer than that. Maybe it's been like a week. Steam announced a sort of family sharing plan that seems similar to whatever the fuck the Xbox One was going to have before. They're like, "Fuck you guys, we're going to give you this." But then you hated us, so we're taking everything away, including this family sharing plan, even though our changes to DRM in no way necessitate the removal of this mythical family sharing plan, and we will never fucking know what that goddamn thing was.
Yes.
But people still, talking about the Xbox One, hold it up as just it would have been amazing, it's this, messianic figure that's we just tore down and destroyed. It's nobody ever said what the fuck that thing was.
No.
But now Steam has come out and been hey, this is probably more or less what it was going to be. So, just overview of how I understand the Steam family sharing to work is I think it allows for 10 different devices. It's not accounts. There are 10 different devices you can share with that people accessing their Steam account on that device. If you allow it, your library to be shared while you're not signed in to Steam, or maybe when you're not playing any game on Steam, maybe you can still be signed in. I
think you can be because you can. Before this was implemented, you could use Steam on multiple computers. You just had to sign out of the other ones.
Yeah. But this one allows if you say I allowed sharing on your laptop, Jonathan, and you went onto your Steam account while I was not doing anything with my Steam account on my laptop. You could log in to your Steam account on your laptop and then access my Steam library, the games I own, and then play those. But if I used my Steam while you're playing, you get kicked off. Is basically the gist of it. So it's it allows it's because it more or less operates how a disc would of only if I could shoot discs at you at subliminal speeds. It's just hey Jonathan, you want to play fucking Hotline Miami on Steam? It's here you go, and then I project it through space at just immense velocities and then stop it immediately in your hand. You're okay. I mean, it's not I own fucking disc games anyways, but then you put it in there and it's you get to play it, but I don't get to play it anymore because you have my copy of Hotline Miami, you asshole. Just give it back already.
It won't take that long. We have subliminal, whatever the hell.
Subliminal speeds is near the speed of light, is what I'm saying.
Right. So no, it's
Just put a small Mass Effect drive on the disc. It projects a Mass Effect field around it, reducing its mass to near zero, and then you can project it across space at immense velocities. That is the future of video games I wish we had gone down, where we kept physical discs, but just made it incredibly easy to borrow it across the planet. Instead, we just use digital files, which is more practical, but less awesome.
Well, wait until 2157, Sean.
Yeah.
Humanity will make first contact, we'll discover the mass relays, we'll be subsumed into galactic culture, and we will have our Mass Effect fields.
Yes, exactly. And then my dream will come true.
Yes.
Unfortunately, now we just have the Steam family, or I don't even think...
We are already so
Steam
off track.
sharing.
It's
I thought
amazing.
perfectly on track.
6
It's
minutes.
Steam sharing. It's Steam sharing. You can share shit with your friends.
It's
if you
the
want
most
to.
simple, logical, just good idea system.
I'll
It's
probably never use it because I don't have people that I like enough to allow them to play my games. And then if I did do it, I would just probably be an asshole and then be like, yeah, no, dude, I won't use Steam. Like, you can play my game, and then immediately just log on Steam as soon as they get far enough into the game that would be immensely inconvenient if they suddenly got booted off.
Yeah,
So that's how I'd use it.
The only thing I could see this would be really useful for in my life, at least, would be like if you're in a household with multiple people who played. Like if it were me and my brother still lived at home together, we would probably, and we both wanted to play Left 4 Dead or something. That would be a nice way to be able to share those.
But I don't think you can do multiplayer games. I don't think it's...
No. I mean, I guess I picked a bad example. Let's say Hotline Miami, non-multiplayer.
Yeah.
Keep it on that. I'm just saying, if I'm playing Hotline Miami, Thomas sees it, my brother, and he's like, that seems cool, I'd like to play it. I'm like, okay, well, when I'm not playing, go on your computer and you can play it. That would be a really easy way to do that rather than him having to use my physical computer or something.
Yeah, so there definitely are use cases, but the fact that multiple people can't be using the same Steam library at the same Steam time, I guess, makes it useless to me. I would never...
Same Steam channel,
Yeah,
same
exactly.
Steam time.
But, I can't imagine myself, Just I use Steam relatively frequently, at least once every other day, more or less. I'll log on to Steam, and either, right now I've been playing Rocksmith a lot on there, or, I'll, be playing whatever new indie game is out. So it's, to me, it would be useless, because anyone else using it, it's, unless you're, in fucking London, and our hours are, flipped, you're not going to be able to use my Steam library almost at all, because I'll constantly be kicking your ass off.
Yeah, it would make more sense if it were... Or I guess not make more sense, but it would be a little easier if it was on a per-game basis.
Yeah.
Because that would replicate the disc kind of model, but... it's a nice little addition. Certainly can't
Yeah,
be
certainly
wrong
it's
for it.
it's better to have than not to have.
Yeah,
but
totally. But that's not really the big... That was just
Yeah.
a piece of Steam news we missed, wanted to catch up on. Steam is making 3 major announcements today that they've said are about sort of the home experience of gaming. TV experience.
Yeah.
And they made their first one today. We'll obviously catch up with the next 2 next week, and although I think we know what they're going to be roughly.
Yeah, probably
Some
more or
ideas.
less.
But the first one was the Steam OS.
Yes, which is now an operating system based off of Linux that Valve is saying is optimized to run Steam on a sort of home theater experience, sort of in conjunction with their already existing big picture mode that allows you to connect a computer to your TV and then go into big picture mode and sort of optimizes it to use the resolution of your TV and use a controller to navigate your library and stuff. This is just straight up dog, your whole PC that you would theoretically be building to hook up to your TV is all optimized simply for that experience. So this is a dedicated PC TV gaming machine that would be running this Steam OS.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting idea. It's definitely interesting. It's also kind of scary to me. Of all of a sudden, Valve is making a fucking operating system that's just
Steam will be
guys.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's you're getting uncomfortably close to just making a full-on PC gaming monopoly at this point. Of you have to have, unless you're EA, you have to have your game on Steam to make PC sales at all. Anyways,
Yeah.
It's now it's fucking, you don't even need to get a machine that runs a Mac OS or a Windows OS. It's you can just fucking pay us more money and we'll give you a machine that's optimized just for our shit. It's eventually Steam's just going to make monitors and graphics cards and fucking CPUs. And it's you're buying this Valve-made hardware to run Valve-made software on their Valve-made software delivery service using their Valve-made Steam OS. That is the fucking future where the shit is going.
Thank God the federal government knows nothing about video games. Or
Yeah,
else we'd be close to an antitrust suit.
Yeah, exactly. They'd just be hey guys, you can't just do everything. This is fucking ridiculous.
Although I'll say, if I were a really heavy Steam gamer, if that was my primary use for my PC, if I were a PC gamer, I think this would be an exciting proposition. Just, streamline it all more. I think I can definitely see the value of that.
Yeah, I can too. But like I said,
but
it's a little. It feels a little skeevy to me. Like right. I already I'm uncomfortable with the amount of power Steam has in the PC gaming area, where it's they have their competitors. There is Origin, there's Good Old Games, there's Green Man Gaming, but it's they hold nothing to Steam. Steam is so far and above all those other services and the amount of just market share they have. And then them making an OS on top of that's just guys, holy shit, what are you doing?
Yeah. And, don't get us wrong, Steam is a great service. It's super convenient, but there's a little, when you think about the business side of it, a little skeevy.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a little skeevy at this point, but... Yeah. And, of course, this is necessary for the Steam box when it comes.
Yeah,
And I still think the idea of the Steam box is super fucking cool. It's something I would definitely consider looking into, depending on how they price it and whatnot.
This definitely feels to me like a precursor to, hey, that thing we were talking about a year ago, the Steam box or whatever.
It's finally ready.
Yeah, this is presumably leading up to that, because obviously if they have a fucking Steam OS designed to run on PC games on a TV, well, that's what you're going to be running your Steam box off of.
Right.
Which is interesting because also since it's Linux based, it actually is not going to be able to run 95% of all the games in Steam anyways, because it's almost all the games in Steam run only on Windows. It's they're getting better about Mac, but I'm pretty sure Linux compatible games are even fewer than Mac compatible games at this point.
Yeah, so I was kind of assuming because it's their Steam OS, everything would work on it.
I'm not a fucking hardware or software engineer, so I don't know for sure, but them saying it's Linux based, and Valve has been talking up Linux for a long time now, because particularly back when Windows 8 came out, Gabe Newell was really against Windows 8 because that was obviously Microsoft's first step towards a more Apple-style closed system that if Windows went all the way in that direction, Steam would not work anymore if they had this super closed system where it's hey, if you want to run games, you have to run it through the Windows 8 App Store. That's not how it works now, but theoretically that's the ultimate conclusion if Windows kept on going in the direction they started with Windows 8. So that sort of freaked Newell out, and he was hey, this could be terrible for PC gaming. So he started talking up Linux, and if you run Linux OS, you can only run, I think the last time I checked it was 200 something games. I looked at this just yesterday because there's the Giant Bombcast was talking about this kind of stuff. So I was curious about it, and it was oh shit, now they have a Linux based OS. So
okay. Double sourcing this, Joystick says SteamOS is a Linux-based operating system built to stream Windows and Mac games to the big screen.
Huh.
And Polygon says, according to Valve, hundreds of games already run on SteamOS, and announcements about AAA titles being brought to SteamOS in 2014 are coming in the next few weeks. In-home streaming is Valve's solution for games that don't support SteamOS natively. It'll allow you to run Steam on your existing Windows or Mac-based PC and use a SteamOS-based machine to stream them to the television in your living room.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's kind of a middle ground, but you will be able to play your games.
Yeah. So it seems. So what the Polygon article it sounded like is that them saying you will be able to run hundreds of games already on SteamOS. Just that's basically, I feel that's them saying yes, no, this is a fucking Linux operating system. So it's the games coming in the future, all of those are probably going to be able to run on Linux because it's that's the trend has been more operating systems are getting all the games.
Well, I've seen pretty much every new game that comes out on Steam is all three.
Yeah, exactly. But their sort of workaround is that there's going to be some sort of game streaming component to SteamOS, it seems. So if you have your Windows PC already, and then you're I've got all my fucking Steam games on there, but then I'm also going to buy the Steam box, so I'm spending $2,000 fucking dollars on PC games at this point, and then I'm going to hook it up to my TV, and then you can stream it to and who knows how all this game streaming stuff is going to work out eventually, because it hasn't worked so well so far, but that would be an interesting solution to me. If the game streaming stuff could work well, that would be the direction I would probably want to go with playing PC games on my TV, because it's I wouldn't want to buy a PC that's just sitting in my TV and that's all it does, and then also obviously have my own personal computer I use for other shit I need to use a PC for.
Well, that's what
and then to play PC, some PC games would not work well on a couch anyways. I certainly would never want to play StarCraft with get a tray or something and put a keyboard and mouse on there. That would suck.
Well, even Valve's native games, I've talked about how I like playing their games, like Left 4 Dead and Half-Life, significantly more keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, definitely a lot of the first-person shooter stuff I would not want to play.
But here's what I'll say, is that learning what we just learned, that does make me less interested in the Steam box theoretically because, like, my computer, it's a Mac, but, you can run a lot of Steam games on Mac now.
Yeah,
and
like most modern stuff.
Yeah, and I could boot camp if I wanted. And because this is a nice new computer, it's got an HDMI out. So I can put that through my TV, use big picture mode. It's the easiest thing in the world. Yeah. It's like having, a Steam box kind of thing. And I could buy, a dedicated gaming PC that would play everything in the Steam store and do that, and then only have to have the one machine, and I could take it wherever I go. And so... I guess if the Steam box kind of, you have to do the workaround kind of thing to get all your games to work, it's a much less interesting proposal to me.
I mean, it's like, I don't know, even like to me, like, it's an interesting intellectual, like, I could see a use case for it, but I'm not that use case. Like, I think, like, going forward, like, since PS4 and Xbox One now are both, like, so heavily supporting self-publishing and indie games, that's, like, there's no need now for me. Like, it's just, like, the number of games that come out exclusively on PC that I'm interested are one in like the past 3 years, which was StarCraft 2, and that's it.
Right, and it's and so I think that's basically the case where I'm at too, is that the PS4 is going to be like having a great gaming PC.
Yeah, with like the number of like different styles of games and like smaller titles that would be available. To me, that sort of renders the Steam box moot.
Yeah,
I'm willing to bet a decent Steam box is not going to be like probably a Steam box that would run PS4 like style games would probably be like $800 to $1,000 if it's like going to be in a like small compressed size.
And you could get a really good gaming PC for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And just make a gaming laptop even. So and I just like kind of my middle ground solution of using my consoles as my main gaming platforms and games I want to play on Steam, play them on my computer. If I want to have them on the TV, just HDMI in. It's really easy.
Yeah.
So
the Steam OS, more Steam stuff to come. That's probably all going to revolve around Steam and Valve trying to encroach into the living room, so to speak. But
they will be everywhere.
Yeah.
Steam phone, Steam pad.
Exactly. Like it's freaking me out. Like I'm just like
Steam Reader, an e-reader that lets you read video game books.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Valve, like I love Valve. They make great games. Steam is a very good service, but like especially like modern Valve freaks me out a lot with like their like new age like we're going to make TF2 free with like all these updates, but the only reason they're doing that is to get people locked in on their service. Because if like you start buying games on Steam, those games stay on Steam, and then you go onto Steam more to then see their store where their crazy fucking sales make you buy a million fucking games that you're never going to play.
And we're all guilty of this.
Yeah, it's scary. Like Valve, it's like I don't know. It feels like they put on this really cool facade, and they used to be really cool, but now it's like the mask slips a little bit, and you're like, oh god, you're just pure evil. Like there's pure evil behind there, and the only reason it's working out for me right now is that our interests are currently aligned. The second that turns, Valve kills everybody, and that's it.
Nice.
Basically, Valve is Satan. That's what I'm saying.
So, what other video game news should we talk about?
Shit, was there other video game news?
Nothing big out of Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah. TGS came, TGS went. Like all the big stuff out of TGS mostly was from the Sony like pre-event thing that we already went over with like PS Vita TV and shit.
I feel like we were thinking about talking about something else, but
someone from Sony teased that The Last Guardian is still in production again, which is just like that game has been in production since like 2007. Like who knows if we'll ever see it come to fruition.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that there's a FIFA 14 Legacy Edition on the 3DS, and Nintendo just came out and said in the description on the eShop that it has no updates to gameplay or game modes. They tell you it is literally the same game, just with new costumes and players.
Huh.
I thought that was kind of like Nintendo playing it honest.
Yeah.
Probably they shouldn't be playing it that honest.
Yeah, they're not playing it honest because they're really smart, or like they're really like kind and caring towards the consumers, just because they're really naive and don't know better.
Yes. So, oh well. But I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. It didn't seem like there was anything huge out of TGS.
Before we move on to Grand Theft Auto 5, I saw some movies this week that I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
First up, it's coming out in October. My review, like written review, will be publishing then, but I don't think there's an embargo on it. It played at Toronto and Telluride and everywhere, so I think I can talk about it. Alfonso Cuarón's Gravity.
Oh, awesome! I've been cool trailers.
Holy fuck, man! This fucking movie hit me about as hard as a movie has ever hit me. I think that's the first line of my review. I'm still working on that review because trying to
Does
sum
it
up...
hit you and accelerate you at 9.8 meters per second squared?
Yes.
Awesome. That should be the first line of your review. You should change it.
I think
you need to make a 9.8 meters per second squared like acceleration due to gravity joke somewhere in there.
Yes,
I'm mandating it now.
Okay,
every review should.
Should I write it down right now? As a note?
Yeah. You have to.
So
make
what's
that
the
note.
9.8
meters per second squared is the acceleration due to gravity near the surface of Earth. So you have to make a joke about that somewhere because it's called gravity. It's called gravity. You have to make that joke.
And this movie, boy, I mean, Sean, you're going to love it because I think this is the most significant space travel movie since Kubrick's 2001. I think it is the first space travel movie to be so completely about, at least on the technical side, space travel. Like, they clearly did their fucking homework. There aren't, it's obviously, fantastical things happen to a certain degree. Like, in 2001, we have something like HAL, which has not been literally realized in the year they made the film, but you can theorize about these things.
Yes. We do have Siri.
Yeah, just as in Siri will kill us all, but just from frustration.
Yeah, exactly. You'll try to access Google Maps through her, and she'll just drive you into a wall.
Right. In any case, so 2001 has those elements, and Gravity, its sort of inciting plot event is an accepted space theory of something that could happen if satellites, there were a chain of events where one gets hit by an asteroid, and that it starts accelerating around the Earth, and all our space technology gets taken out. That's kind of the starting point for the movie. So not something that has happened, but it's scientifically
but theoretically, it could happen.
So that's kind of, and so there is no sound in space in the movie. Good. In the trailers, you do hear explosions. That was added by Warner Brothers. Okay. That is not in the movie. In the movie, there is no sound in space. You only hear, really, the soundtrack consists of people talking in their helmets and music. And then sometimes, if a character goes into a space station and there is a closed environment, there can be sound in those cases. But it's Firefly style, y'all, for the kids who that's your only exposure to sci-fi that's done silent space.
Yeah, it obeys the laws of physical reality.
Yeah.
Y'all?
Yep, it obeys the laws of physical reality, but
mostly probably.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's so compelling about it. From a technical standpoint, I have never seen special effects this impressive ever in a movie.
Oh, I thought you were just going to stop with I've never seen special effects. Yeah, no. These ones seem pretty good.
No. I think, and honestly, what it brings to mind is something like 2001, where I just don't know how they did it. Mm-hmm. And I'll never know how they did it all. It looks like they just went into space and shot it, and had Sandra Bullock and George Clooney said, all right, we're going to spin you around and push you out into space. That's what it looks like.
But if you do that, aren't I just going to keep on going that direction, basically forever? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got stunt doubles, though.
So. Yeah. They killed 10 Sandra Bullock stunt doubles.
Yeah.
She'll be thanking them in her Academy Awards acceptance speech.
Yeah.
No, but, so it's just...
he's just passing Pluto today.
It is so utterly seamless, and I really do keep coming back to 2001 because I think 2001 is one of those rare effects-heavy sci-fi movies where you cannot see the seams.
Yeah.
And I think in most movies, even movies with the best effects, something like Star Wars or a modern equivalence like... Avatar is an obvious one, or Lord of the Rings. You can see the seams at some points, not frequently in some cases, but they're there, and then they're not. That's not a bad thing. It's just they're there, and okay, that's a model, that's CGI maybe, that's a matte painting, that sort of thing. 2001 is a movie where most of the time I don't think you can see those seams, in part because they just fucking built it all.
Yeah, it's just we just made a giant centrifuge set to make our spinning centrifuge space station, and
I really do think there are sets like that in Gravity. In terms of I'm sure there's some CGI involved, probably lots. The space, they didn't go out and film space, obviously, but but it wasn't like I was reading about some of the special effects, and Alfonso Cuarón said it wasn't even a green screen they employed. They had Sandra.
It was a space screen.
They had Sandra Bullock inside this giant box full of LED lights, and that's how they did the green screen. Nice. LED lights did it, but she was 20 meters away from the closest crew member. So the headphones she's wearing in the movie to communicate with other astronauts and NASA, Alfonso Cuarón was talking through her
exactly. That's the sentence you want to say.
Through it to her.
He was projecting his voice through her telepathically.
Yeah, no. And so that's how she was directed. She was just in this sensory deprivation chamber 8 hours a day shooting this movie. It's incredible, the technological side to it. It's just seamless. And that's technically what's so amazing to it. And I think if that were it, if it was just, and it's beautifully paced, it's 90 minutes, it is so intense, it's the most intense 90 minutes I've seen in forever. It's, and really simulating simulates the effect of space travel. The other thing it does that I think the main thing that makes it look so seamless is not that they've got really good practical effects and CGI and stuff. It's how they shoot it. And this is something I'm in a film history class right now. And what you learn when you're in film history is that the language of cinema was pretty much set in stone in 1915.
Yeah.
And we haven't changed it much, even when we got sound and whatnot. Cinematography has obviously advanced, but editing is kind of the way it's always been. And editing is, maybe we've had faster cuts and whatnot, but editing is still, shot, reverse shot, continuity editing, things like that, those basic principles. Gravity does not obey those. It is a continuity-based movie, but it only has a few cuts throughout. It's almost all, there are very few literal edits that you can see. Now, I'm sure they did not actually do 20-minute camera pans.
Because it's not like Alfonso Cuarón just turned on the camera for 90 minutes. Like, that's a wrap!
No. Well, and obviously it's so effects heavy. There are shots that it doesn't cut, but it does go inside Sandra Bullock's helmet. You get a first-person view, and then it goes back outside.
Yeah, so they hide all where the cuts would be.
Yeah, and so, but that's a very different language for film. Is that they only, cuts are typically used in film now to go from person to person to establish continuity within an ongoing temporal scene. But the only time cuts are used in Gravity is to move time forward when necessary, or to move geography forward. Like if we need to go to a different location. Sandra Bullock's been spinning for a while. We're going to see where she ends up. That kind of thing. And that those are
she ends up in more space.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yep. And that's what cuts are used for. Otherwise, everything is done with the illusion of in camera, and that's very different. And then the camera itself is always moving. It's spinning, and it makes you feel weightless. It replicates kind of how 2001 used the camera to do those same kinds of effects. And it's really interesting in that way. And it just doesn't look like any movie I've ever seen. It doesn't play like any movie I've ever seen. It's fascinating in that way. Alfonso Cuarón has long been one of my favorite directors. It's been 7 years since he made a movie, and this is 8 years maybe. Children of Men. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's this. You can tell why it took him as long as it did to make this movie.
Children of Men was 2005. So
it's 2006.
I'm pretty sure it's 2005. But
I think it was 2006. We'll look this up. But
sure.
In any case, 2006 IMDb and Wikipedia 2006 double sourced.
Someone saw it in 2005 or pieces of it in 2005. So
I'm sure they did.
Yeah, so
they probably shot it in 2005.
Exactly. So that's what I was saying.
Okay. In any case, if Gravity all it was this great thriller in space, with these effects, it would still be an amazing technical achievement. But what hit me so hard about it is it's got a very simple message to it, a very simple character arc, but one that I think is really, really profound. And I saw it, and why it hit me as hard as it did is that movie is about the clearest, cinematic representation, fictional representation, I should say, just artistic representation of my own kind of personal belief system on the world that I've ever seen.
Yeah, that if you drop something, it will move towards the greatest source of body of gravity near it. Yeah, that's my. No, I see how that would affect you emotionally too.
Yes, no, it's more about it's a very simple kind of discussion about sort of how life stacks up to the just enormity of the universe and the many things.
It's really small. That's how it stacks up.
It's really small, but then I think the movie kind of it's a really interesting. I think it's sort of just asking the basic question. If you're this small, what pushes us forward? What makes us live? What makes us
our
explore?
Desires? I solved it for you. The fact that we have crave to survive, and thus we need to do things to survive, and then we also get bored, so we have to do things to entertain us. Done. You watched the movie just now,
and I think you could read Gravity that way if you wanted to. But and it's just a great movie. And Sandra Bullock is mostly the only person on screen. George Clooney is also in it intermittently. And they're both great. Sandra Bullock especially. She's not an actress I've really liked in the past. Kind of had to reevaluate her after this. She is very good in this. And overall, I think you could put in a lot of different actors into this, and it would have worked just as well in some ways because the star really isn't necessarily the human beings on screen.
It's the force of gravity,
right? But definitely, I think this combination of her and George Clooney is about as good as it could be, and just great work by them. Great music by Stephen Price, who also did the score to The World's End recently. Also a really good score. So good composer there. Otherwise, it's basically the entire crew of the Harry Potter movies doing it. It was kind of funny because Alfonso Cuarón did one of the Harry Potter movies. This is Warner Brothers. It's produced by the Harry Potter producer. It's the same costume designer. It's some of the special effects supervisor. It's a bunch of people, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Although pretty much any Warner Brothers production now, all those people got freed up after Harry Potter, so they're on everything. It's kind of interesting. But great movie, best movie I've seen this year, easily. And it's really been the consensus I've seen, is it feels like this is kind of one of those watershed moments we don't hear a lot about recently, where this movie landed at the festivals and everybody was just, it's been very unanimous praise as a real masterpiece. So that's pretty great.
Cool.
Comes out October 4th. See it in IMAX if you can. I did not. I saw it at a shitty AMC theater because that's where they screened it for us. And that was kind of annoying because those are not my favorite theaters. They do a weird thing where they kind of have the screen curving up, so everything on the bottom just kind of gets cut off.
Yeah.
I don't really get it, but in any case.
Is there a shot in the movie where someone drops an apple? Does that ever happen?
No.
Oh.
It's also, I should say...
Is there a bust of Sir Isaac Newton anywhere in the movie?
No.
Oh. That's a disappointment.
I know. I also need to say, this is the best and most crucial use of 3D yet in filmmaking. You have to see it in 3D. It will not hit the same if it's not in 3D because they really do. It's about immersing you with, and it really takes place in 3 dimensions. The way the photography works and the way things come out at you, but not in a gimmicky way, in a way that really makes you kind of feel what's going on. Like when a giant debris field is heading at Sandra Bullock and she gets inside just in time, and all of it comes and hits us, and it almost feels like it is hitting us. Really good use of 3D and very immersive, and I think it's the effects were obviously built around it. So see it that way, see it on IMAX or some big screen. It'll be really cool. So
I'm trying to think of more gravity jokes, but I think that well is dry.
But you want to see this movie,
that gravity
right?
well is dry.
Yes.
Yes, I want to see the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear this is good. I saw the trailers and really liked it, but I didn't seek out any other information about the movie. So I'm glad to hear. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Like I was hoping. So
really good. So the other movie I saw, this one is out now. It's called Prisoners, and it's with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal, Terrence Howard, a bunch of other people. I saw it over the weekend. I had this for some reason. This is just one of those. I usually know all the movies that are out, even if I haven't seen them. I hadn't heard of this somehow.
I have not heard of it either.
I had not heard of it. It played at Telluride, I guess, and it was a big hit there. People really liked it. But it came out commercially this weekend. I had not heard of it until I was looking at things to do this weekend. I was like, I'll go see that. I like those people. Seems interesting. And I really like going to a movie where I literally know nothing about it. I had not seen a frame. The only thing I knew was the poster, which had Hugh Jackman looking really sullen and Jake Gyllenhaal looking kind of shocked. And the title Prisoners, and I knew genre. It was like a crime thriller kind of thing, mystery, and I don't want to say a ton about it because I kind of hope if you go see it, you see it in the same way. Just go in cold. It's really interesting. It's a very long movie. I think it's nearly 3 hours long, but it's a very sort of literary pace to it, where it's like they edit it in such a way, almost like a Godfather 2, where when you stay with one character or chunk of characters for a long period of time before moving on.
Yeah.
Very novelistic in that sense. Every chunk of story feels like a chapter where, first you're kind of laying out all the pieces and then it gets more and more intense, sort of page turning by the end. Very sort of calm and measured pace, but very good. It's a crime mystery in which Hugh Jackman and Terrence Howard are two best friends. They've got families. On Thanksgiving, they're having Thanksgiving together, and their daughters go missing, and Jake Gyllenhaal is the detective assigned to the case. From there, it plays out a lot like, I would say, sort of one of the David Fincher detective movies, like Zodiac or Seven.
You know what? Now that you're describing this, I think I've seen the trailer for this.
Okay.
Now this all of a sudden sounds vaguely familiar to me.
Okay, and it's kind of like one of those. It's a really interesting. It starts from that place where two girls have been kidnapped. They're looking for them, but it goes off in a totally different direction, where it's very much sort of about the nature of the horrible things we do in the name of justice, and the horrible things we do out of our emotions, and the transgressions that arise, and really cannot be justified by any level other than the heat of the moment. It's a really fascinating movie. It's just stupendously acted. The best performance I've ever seen from Hugh Jackman. Jake Gyllenhaal is really good playing a part that is, I think, very tough, because you know how in most detective stories the detective is just completely emotionally wrapped up in the case.
Yeah.
Even though in real life, if you were that emotionally wrapped up in every case, you would die.
Exactly, because you're working on multiple cases at the same time, so it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they do in this movie is he starts out very cold and detached because it's just a job, and you have to treat it as a job, or you're probably going to be a bad detective in the real world. Yeah. And over time, organically, because this is kind of a special case, he gets more invested in it. But I really like that you start by not knowing a lot about him being kind of detached and cold. It's not a common thing in detective fiction.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And it explores its issues from so many different stances. and it gets on some hot button issues about torture, and I think the way law enforcement treats mentally disabled people, and how they are viewed in legal cases. It's a lot of different issues in this very intimate setting. Great movie. Another one of the best movies I've seen all year. These may be the 2 best movies I've seen all year, and I saw them in within 2 days.
Cool.
So that was really weird. But yeah, great movie. Go see it. It was weird. I saw it at the Alamo Draft House. I had a pizza, and then halfway through the movie, I wish I had not eaten anything because the movie gets very, very graphic. So
nice.
Not all movies are perfectly suited for the Alamo Draft House.
Yeah.
Also, don't eat gravity. Don't eat gravity.
Don't eat gravity. It's a disembodied, just natural force. But don't eat it. It's dangerous.
Don't eat during gravity, especially if you have any semblance of motion sickness. I'll say that right now.
Yeah.
In any case,
and just don't eat gravity. It's a bad idea. Oh God, I'm eating it right now. It's in my stomach. It's part of my stomach.
All right.
My stomach is exerting it itself and being influenced by it. Oh, Jonathan, what are we going to do? We're all eating gravity constantly.
Let's move on.
Every molecule of our being is eating and is gravity. What do we do?
At least I didn't fall down this week before the podcast, or else you would have had so many more gravity jokes to make.
Yeah, okay, I was going to make another one, but yeah, you basically made it for me.
All right, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
God, I can't do anything without you making fun of me this week.
Because you can't do anything that's not worth making fun of, Jonathan. It's not my fault.
Okay, thank you. Grand Theft Auto 5. You want to talk about it?
I want to make fun of you more, but sure, let's
I'm
move
sure.
on to Grand Theft Auto 5.
I'm sure you'll find something to make fun of me for.
Yeah.
What? Okay, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out a week ago. Yeah,
a week ago tomorrow.
From
when we're recording this.
It'll come out today, Monday.
It does.
Yeah. In any case, it's been a week since it came out. Before we talk about the game itself, you got it on disc. You got the Xbox.
I pre-ordered the Xbox 360 version off of Amazon.com.
Yes, I wound up
leading
getting
provider of online shipping orders. I don't know what their tagline is.
You don't need to do a pitch for Amazon.com.
Amazon.com's awesome.
It is. I love Amazon.
I want to do a pitch for them.
Okay.
It's like now I can get video games on day one that aren't digital and not have to talk to some asshole in Best Buy who wants to chat me up about me getting Grand Theft Auto 5, that I don't want to talk to you about Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm never going to see you again. Don't talk to me.
Or they want to sell you their disc scratch protection
exactly.
program. Yeah. Because disc scratching is such a big issue in this day and age.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I know it was back in 1997 when we had never used discs and people didn't know you couldn't rub your car keys against them. But
you can't? I do that every time I put a new disc in. I thought it's like a good luck charm. Yes. I want to do really well at this mission of Grand Theft Auto. Let me take out the disc and rub my car keys on it.
Yes, exactly. No, I got the game on PSN digitally for the PS3, and it was kind of interesting because this is an interesting case study where this week, Tuesday, GTA 5 came out, and then Wednesday, Apple released iOS 7.
Yes.
And every time Apple releases a new OS or iOS or whatever, for some reason, the most profitable company in the world cannot do server upkeep. Yeah. And it's really weird, where everything just fucking crashes on Apple.
Well, that's unfair. Nothing ever, no service ever works day one when it needs to have servers, because...
PSN did for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, okay.
That's what I want to talk about, because...
Well, Rockstar didn't. The Rockstar, social club servers fucking burned.
Okay, well, I just want to say, PSN gets shit sometimes because it's had dumb things happen in the past. Sometimes its server capacity issues are not, it has server capacity issues. Mm-hmm. But for Grand Theft Auto 5's launch, it took a little longer to come out than we had expected. They said 12 p.m. Eastern, which was 10 p.m. our time. It came out about 10:30 where I was. It just took them a little while to get it up into the store. That happens. But when it came up, I started downloading it, and it probably took it about 2 hours or less.
Huh. That's pretty impressive.
For
I would have assumed that it would have taken a lot longer.
Yeah, for an 18 gig download, it was really fast. It was like any normal download. It was not, let's say, faster than another download I do in the Rockstar or in the PSN store, but it was perfectly fast. And I actually went to bed last night, so I think it took about 2 hours. I stayed up for about an hour of that download doing other stuff, and it was completely on track, and it had no slowdown. If anything, it got faster. And I looked on some forums and stuff, and I was seeing, just because I was following people to see if I was waiting for it to come out. I was seeing if anyone else had gotten it. Mm-hmm. And everyone was reporting once it came out, it was smooth. Like if you had bad internet in your area, it wasn't.
Yeah,
but that just kind of impressed me because I would have expected of the two of those. Well, I always expect Apple everything to crash, but because it does when they release OSs, and it did. iOS 7 was a disastrous launch. It ruined a bunch of iPhones. My iPhone got completely fucked.
Why did you try to download it like right when it came out?
I didn't try to download it right when it came out. I downloaded it that evening because I thought
why did you download it the same day? I waited a week.
Yeah, probably a bad idea.
You should wait almost a week at the very least to first let other people download it, see if it's broken or if it breaks anything else about the iPhone that it concerns you particularly, and wait until their servers are up and ready. You don't need to update the fucking OS on your phone that night, Jonathan, for God's sake. It doesn't even do anything. It adds animated transitions and a little thing that you can swipe up from the bottom to use your flashlight. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, iOS 7.
In any case, all I'm saying is that I was really impressed because of the two, the one I would have expected to go slower or poorer would have been PS3 and Grand Theft Auto 5, just because GTA 5 was such a big launch, and PlayStation does not have the same resources as Apple, and it was kind of interesting how well that went.
But on the flip side, Apple also has to do service
many more people. I know.
Magnitudes, orders of magnitude more, whereas the people buying the digital only version of Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PS3 day one is actually probably not a whole lot. I would imagine
it was just impressive, and there's been this controversy where they announced shortly before the game came out, the day before the game came out, that if you're an Xbox 360 owner, don't install both discs because it reads from both the disc and the hard drive. And people were speculating, will that apply to the PS3 PSN version also?
And it does.
It does, and I would have canceled my pre-order if I could. You can't do it within that last 24-hour window. So I didn't. I just got digitally, and I've noticed the performance issues. I came in and saw Sean playing his version on the Xbox today. It looked better. It's not huge. Mostly it's pop-in stuff.
Yeah. It's the issue is texture streaming, where it's trying to. They designed the game to read from the disk and the hard drive specifically so that they can read information quicker, since it's reading it from two different sources. And so obviously, if it's only reading specifically just from the hard drive, there's a bottleneck there that they didn't properly compensate for, maybe because they couldn't, or maybe because it's way more people are just going to be buying the disc version, and we got it to work well that way. So
right. And we were talking about this before the podcast. It's a complex issue, and I obviously understand why Rockstar didn't want to publicize this.
Yeah.
Because they still want people to buy the digital version. But at that point, I kind of wish they either would have been honest and told people, or just not done a digital version, because if it's inferior and you're paying the exact same price, I feel very ripped off. I wish I could go just get the disc version, and I could. It would cost me another $60 though, and I don't want to waste that money. And what I'm expecting now is that it will probably be on PS4 and Xbox One at some point, and I'll just get it again that way, and then it'll be fine. And it'll run.
But it's this is this is kind of this is better than the Skyrim, the PS3 version of Skyrim.
Oh yeah.
Which if you play that for 30 hours, it would break for most people.
Yeah.
So it's this is not uncommon that it's weird that it's a digital only version difference instead of it being a platform difference. But
I want to stress it's a minor issue.
Yeah.
But it is an issue, and it's just a little bit where I feel a little ruffled about it. But GTA 5 is such a great fucking game, hard to care.
And that is the risk of this bold digital only future we go into. It's I don't know, it's there's something reliable about a disc product, and then the ability to trade back in a disc product to a store, or me sending it back to Amazon if it's this is a shitty version of this game, I want to get the other version or something.
Well, but the thing is though, this is such a special case because the hardware just isn't powerful enough.
Yeah.
They are stretching it so far to its limits.
But eventually, we're going to reach that point with the PS4 and Xbox One as well.
Sure, but
I'm just saying that it's this is one of the reasons why the original Xbox One was a terrible idea of only, and this is one of the reasons why I the struggle internally for me when I get the PS4 of whether I want to do disc games or digital games mostly, it's still raging because it's it's a complex issue.
Oh, and there are downsides. And my plan with the PS4, for instance, is I'm planning on doing digital. I really like that idea. I think it'll be the easiest way to do it. But if I hear word that obviously there will be a superior physical version of the game, I would still get that.
Yeah,
because it has the option, and that options are nice.
Yes,
that's the whole moral of the Xbox One story. Options.
Yeah, exactly. Choice.
Yeah, we like that. All right, Grand Theft Auto 5. Sean, let's dive right into it.
Okay.
What do you okay, we are neither of us are finished the game.
Yes.
You are about 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah, it's hard to say. But
we'll talk about that
I would
later.
say about 2/3 of like my percentage in the game was like 60-something%. I think
56.
Okay, 56.
And mine is 30. I'm probably 1/3 of the way through. Although, as we said, it's hard to gauge.
Yeah.
But obviously, we both have a lot of experience with the game so far.
Yeah.
What do you think of Grand Theft Auto 5 so far?
I really, really fucking like it. I think it's a really, 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 really fucking good game. I think it is. It is certainly. It steps up where it needs to step up as being the next Grand Theft Auto game, I feel.
I agree. It's an interesting case. When I first started playing the game, I was so friggin' blown away because everything just felt so polished and so big in scale and so just, well, like the thing that blew me away the most right off the bat is the writing in this game. The dialogue, fucking great. It is vulgar poetry. It's like
especially at the beginning of the game with Franklin and Lamar.
Yep.
I love that fucking shit. It's so great.
It's so great. It's like David Milch levels. Like he's the writer of Deadwood and stuff like that. It is just vulgar poetry, and it is so great to listen to. And the characters are so well drawn and all that, and it's so fun.
The fucking scene where Franklin wins Employee of the Month.
Yep, I love that. I love all his exchanges with the Repo Man. It's great. But in any case, so I was super blown away by it, just could not love this game anymore. And since then, I still really, really love it. I think the sheen has come off just a tiny bit as I've gotten deeper into the game, and I found a couple issues. Nothing that is, like, huge or game-breaking or anything.
Like, I mean, I have my problems with the game as well.
Yeah. There are a couple of areas where overall it doesn't feel as polished as a Red Dead to me in some areas, and then in some areas it feels much more polished. So it's an interesting trade-off. It doesn't, like... I don't think it still feels like a current-gen game with some of the same problems that this generation of gaming has had, and it doesn't move forward in every direction, but the ways in which it innovates, and it successfully innovates, are stupendous and astounding, and great game, worth the $60. Yeah, totally. And it's just that thrill in Grand Theft Auto of having this fucking amazing sandbox and this amazing story within it, and the sense of freedom there. It certainly brings with it some problems, still does, but boy, the highs of Grand Theft Auto 5 so far are very, very high.
Yeah, without a fucking doubt. So
where do you want to start?
I think so. Like we said, since we're not done with the story, we can't really have a whole discussion on that, and so we're going to try to avoid spoilers. But I would like to start with just talking about basically the characters of the game a little bit, like our impressions so far, and like who they are and how we feel about them, and particularly the main three, because that's sort of, to me, thinking about Grand Theft Auto 5, I think the big step it makes forward, and the coolest thing about it is the three different protagonists and how they switch between them and how they play with each other.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of hinting at before in terms of when I talk about polish, is narratively more than anything. I really feel like I talked about last week, Grand Theft Auto 4 I think has a really good story campaign, but it's got a lot of problems for me. It has a lot of drawbacks in terms of pace and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Red Dead has a little bit of that too, although overall I think I was very invested in the story of Red Dead. But even Red Dead had some things where it just dragged in a certain sense.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 to me does not drag.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
As soon as you start to feel any level of fatigue on one of the characters, you hit down on the arrows and you go to someone else and it's completely new.
Yeah,
And that is, and it's not just a gimmick gameplay wise, because obviously it's new because Trevor plays a little differently than Franklin, or Franklin drives differently than Michael, or something like that. It's the story wise, the kind of stuff you're doing is different, the kind of ways you interact with this world are different. I find myself kind of role playing differently depending on which character.
Yeah,
and I think all of that is fascinating, and I think it's what were you going to say about it?
Oh no, like I definitely I think this is the coolest part of the game to me, in that it definitely does. It serves a lot of really interesting functions, both mechanically and narratively, where it definitely is a solution to the issue that Rockstar had in terms of just pacing, and then also the nature of like having a single protagonist over a 30-hour long story tends to turn that protagonist into like undefined mush in terms of like who their character is, because they go through so many different experiences. Like a lot of TV characters, I feel like, get to this point in like with the show that goes on for a really long time of just like, you don't even feel like anything to me. Like you're just this protagonist vessel to tell all these stories around. And so like that's kind of what happened to Nico, and to a lesser extent John Marston. But in this, having Michael have his own like sort of like they all their stories obviously interconnect in a lot of different areas, but it's like Franklin has his own shit he has to deal with like coming from the hood, and he has his own like sort of supporting characters like Lamar and his aunt and stuff. Then Michael has his whole shit that he's dealing with, being like
Michael's
this
stuff.
like retired gangster with like this family that doesn't appreciate him, partially because he's a giant fucking raging asshole. And then like Trevor is just insane. Trevor's just a complete goddamn maniac,
and I'll
living
admit,
out in the fucking desert with his fucking like dude who can't speak well because his teeth have been rotted away from all the meth he's done. Think of like Wade.
The thing about Trevor that's interesting to me is that Trevor, the verdict is still out for me on, because I feel like everything involving Trevor is going to depend so much on the payoff he gets later in the game. And I'm really interested to see where it goes, because I think moment to moment they do a pretty good job of integrating Trevor, but it really is going to depend on the payoff and comeuppance and whatever happens with that character, because he goes to some extreme places very fast.
Yeah, his fucking introduction is crazy.
It's so audacious.
Yeah. Holy shit.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something we cannot spoil.
Yeah.
Because that's a big moment. But like, even just, and Trevor is very funny, but at the same time, Trevor is the part of the game where you just feel dirty playing it.
Yeah, he's funny, but like he like wavers between like being legitimately funny and just like you feeling really uncomfortable. Of just like he reminds me of the Joker a lot, honestly, in that way of like he can sometimes legitimately just be like, that's a really fucking funny, like you're just crazy, and then like waver into this, oh god, like you're just a psychopath, like this is just scary.
And mostly, even when I'm laughing, I feel uncomfortable around Trevor. And I find I can't play Trevor for the same length of time as I can.
Yeah.
And the only pacing issue I've had with the game so far is when you go to Trevor and you have to place him for a while, that section dragged a tad to me.
Yeah, there's actually, I think it's like the part of the game that you're right at that I felt dragged to me.
Okay, and that's where I'm...
like Trevor's story.
But Trevor, here's what I was going to say. Trevor has my favorite supporting characters by far.
Yeah.
I love Wade. And Floyd.
Floyd, yeah.
Poor
I was trying to
Floyd.
remember his name.
Did Trevor rape Floyd in your game?
Do you mean like did he wake up in the same bed with him and then he was like wearing like pink pajamas?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Floyd is leaning over going, I'm so sorry, Deborah.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Floyd.
Yeah.
Floyd just... And that's what I think is so interesting about this game, and I think Trevor is such a perfect case study for it, is these characters are so well drawn and three-dimensional that you get a quick sense for, while the things that happen around Trevor are insane, you understand why his specific personality allows those things to happen.
Yeah.
Trevor is evil, but he's very magnetic. He's very charismatic in a weird way. He can get people like Floyd, and Floyd, granted, is a weak person, but Trevor still has this just like magic hand over people that you can understand organically in this universe.
Like Trevor very much feels like a traditional like sociopath in that way. And one of the things I like about Trevor is that he's by far like the angriest. He's the most violent, the most despicable, but he's also the smartest. Like he feels like he's a smart fucking dude. Like he has like the broadest vocabulary. He makes like literary references occasionally. It's like, what the fuck? Like he's a really smart, well-educated. Like he could have been a military pilot. You learned at one point, but like his psychological issues prevented him from becoming a military pilot. It's like, oh, like that makes sense. It's like you have to be a smart fucking dude to get into the Air Force,
right?
It's like it makes sense who this dude is, and he's like a great fucking character.
And he's great, and so are Michael and Franklin.
Yeah.
And so far, I don't know if any of the three adds up to a Nico or a John Marston to me, but I think overall, in terms of the experience, it's hitting me harder so far, at least in GTA 4. I'm not so sure about Red Dead, because Red Dead is a game to me that gets better with pretty much every
it's hard to
hour.
tell like who it's hard to tell without knowing like what the huge story moments are going to be.
Yeah, because Red Dead's a weird case where like GTA 5 so far, my favorite parts are like the introductions to all the characters so far, and whereas Red Dead, the worst part of that game to me is the first 2 hours, and then and that's not bad by any means, but then it gets better and better and better from there until you get to Undead Nightmare, and then you're killing the Sasquatch.
That's when it's the best.
Yeah,
it's just like, I fucking killed all the Sasquatches, motherfucker. It's just the best feeling in the world.
Yep. In any case, so
Sasquatch.
I think
there's a Sasquatch in, or at least I saw a silhouette of a Sasquatch in GTA 5 in a mission.
Oh, nice.
So there's one there.
The game is surprisingly callback heavy to GTA 4.
Yeah, especially to GTA 4. Like there are very minor references to San Andreas. Like Franklin has a poster of Mad Dog, who was a character from San Andreas, like in his room.
Yeah,
and there's like, and you can go to Grove Street and like the ballas are there, but it's like, Yeah, it's not heavy on San Andreas references, but yeah, there are a lot.
It happens in the
GTA 4
same continuity as GTA 4.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not just references; they are follow-ups.
Yeah. Like there are characters that make minor appearances here, and there are like specific references to Nico in a couple of cases.
Yep. So I think that's really interesting, very rewarding for long-time players.
Yeah, and they use... In some cases, like, the references get a little too winky at me. Like, I don't want to spoil it, because it's like, I don't know if other people have, like, gotten... Like, because it's like, there's some side stuff that you can run into that I think, like, over-references GTA 4, but then there are, like, some instances that it's like, this is just, like, some of the best, like, subtle crossover thing I've ever seen, like, just be used. But, yeah.
Talking about Michael and Franklin.
Yeah.
Franklin is my favorite of the three to play as. Because I like Franklin. I like that dude.
I like Franklin. And then also his power, I think, is really useful. I like it's ridiculous, but it's really just like you can just like slow time when you're driving a car, and it's just like I can just relax for a second. Like like I was in this really stressful car chase. It's like just guide around there. Okay, let's go back.
Yeah, it's perfect, and it complements the driving system very well. But in terms of the character that interests me the most narratively and character-wise so far, it's Michael. I really like that performance.
Yeah, he feels like the true protagonist of the game to me, where it's like they all obviously have like a protagonist role, but like Michael's the one everything sort of really revolves around.
And there's a part in the game where there's sort of a turning point mission for Michael where things personally go very wrong for him. And that mission, even though the gameplay side of it is just silly, that's my favorite mission in the game so far, just because the story content, it's such an interesting balance, because Michael's a character you should hate unconditionally because he's an asshole, but you kind of care for the guy.
Because you really understand what he's going through and like why in a lot of cases he feels the way he feels. He just doesn't possess enough self-control to keep himself from doing really bad shit and really creative, funny shit in some cases.
Yep. And it's interesting how I think it feels like it's building off kind of the modern white gangster persona of of fiction in the 2000s. Most notably, it calls out to Tony Soprano with the therapy and the family side to it. Although Tony Soprano was an active mobster in his story, Michael is post-active. But I think it's a really interesting...
For the most part, he's post-active.
Yes. Well, until the game starts. He had been post-active.
And it'd be fun to just play a game where you just play a retired criminal. He's just a retired criminal. Like he's out of that world. There's no gameplay.
And then let's talk about Franklin really quick.
Okay.
Franklin is sort of, in some ways, the simplest of the characters. He's the easiest to like. But
he feels like, just in terms of like his narrative role, he feels like the audience proxy, particularly at the beginning of the game, because it's like beyond the prologue that happens at the very beginning that sets up the overarching story for the game. Once you really get into the game, you play as Franklin for the first couple of hours before he meets up with Michael.
And I love how he meets up with Michael.
Yeah, that's a great fucking moment. But yeah, like it's definitely, because Franklin's the youngest, he feels in a lot of ways like compared to the characters he's with, he's very savvy, but compared to the characters he meets like with like Michael and Trevor and like the older gangsters, he's very naive and youthful in that way. And so it's like, him being introduced into like this really crazy world where he kind of comes from a crazy world in its own way, but not to the scale of like once you meet Trevor and it's just like, oh shit, I am in some deep fucking shit now.
He doesn't know he's a Grand Theft Auto character yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference. Trevor knows he's a Grand Theft Auto character. Michael is resisting being a Grand Theft Auto character. Franklin doesn't know what a Grand Theft Auto character is yet.
Yeah, he's becoming one slowly.
So that's the arc for everyone. Yeah. But it's great, and I think they do such a good job at fleshing out these specific relationships between these three, and knowing this is how Michael and Franklin interact. This is how Franklin sees Trevor. This is how Trevor sees Franklin.
Yeah.
This is how Trevor and Michael work together, and this is how Franklin sees their relationship and whatnot. It's very well thought out.
Yeah, without a doubt, and especially like the stuff I'm getting into in the story. It's getting even deeper into that in really interesting ways that I really want to see where the story goes at this point, because it's like the way they're playing off the relationships is really great.
And the number one thing for me in this game, in terms of the story and actual narrative content, is the satirical elements of it are so sharp and so biting and so no holds barred. I love it. Are you
talking about it in terms of like just like what's going on in the main story?
I think that not only, obviously there is the side stuff where what you hear on the radio, what you see in the world,
just like the satire of the world itself.
It's perfect. That stuff is amazing. But in the actual story, you have stuff that's kind of minor, like the life hacker scene and whatnot, which I think is perfect, really well done.
That mission is
Yeah.
That mission was satisfying to me on a very personal level.
Yep, satisfying. And then I like the one where you save Michael's daughter from the reality show competition, which perfectly captured the voice of a 14-year-old reality competition that's been on the TV for way too long and is dying.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, it really does feel like it knows 2013 America. Mm-hmm. But even more than that, it's specifically the government angles of the story that come out of Michael and Trevor's stuff. And it's very provocative. It's satirical, but it's got a very dark core to it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I think if GTA 4 was an indictment of certain American policies and ideas, GTA 5 is an all-out assault.
Yeah.
But a very smart and coherent one. You know, I think we will talk about... This is not a spoiler. There's a torture scene in the game.
Yeah, everybody's heard about that.
That's a really challenging scene where I'm still kind of trying to figure out exactly what I feel about it. But they go somewhere...
it's pretty fucking rough.
They go somewhere and they say some things, and they are not holding back.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that for now.
Trevor is a fucked up dude.
Yep. But Trevor also gets it. And what Trevor thinks is... the most, he gets what torture is.
Yeah.
And he gets how and why America uses it. And it's, And what do you think about the satirical elements?
Because I disagree with you with the world side of it. And this is something I've never really loved in GTA games. Is I always feel like the world satire of we're going to call our Facebook life hacker always feels really lazy and just cheap. Like, it's just, I don't know, and it's not something really terrible. Like I said, I've felt this way about every GTA game I've played, where it's just you turn on the radio and there's one really, a super really obvious joke about reality TV or something. It's okay. And it just goes, I just kind of completely filter it out, because it's not it's offensive, or it's everything they do is groan worthy. And sometimes there are a couple of really good laughs that you get out of it. I think actually, but I think the satirical elements within the story, I think the fact that they call their Facebook thing life hacker is fucking stupid. It's way too easy, way too obvious. It's not even a joke at that point. But when you actually go to their life hacker offices and the people who work there, and there's a woman who's there who's because you just kind of walk through their offices at this one point, and they're basically like I said, they're Facebook, but it's this kind of is there for any sort of new agey hippie hip Twitter, or even kind of Apple expresses this image. I don't know how much Apple is actually like this, but they express this creative, relaxed individual. Where there's just one of my favorite jokes in the whole game is when you're walking through those offices and there's this woman who works there who's bringing in this other guy for an interview, and she tells him it's oh, you can sit on the beanbag chair right over here. And he's actually, I'm just going to sit on the normal chair. I've got lower back problems. And she's oh, no, this position is for the kind of creative and relaxed individuals who would sit in a beanbag chair over a normal chair. I don't know if you're coming to the right place to work. It's that's that joke, that's a funny fucking joke. It's just it hits deeper than just it's life hacker, or our Twitter is called Bleeder. It's fuck you.
And I guess
that's funny.
And I guess I wasn't thinking about the specific, just the surface level satire. I was kind of talking more about what they actually do with it at certain points.
Yeah. I definitely think, I said, the main story content of the satire is really well done, as it usually is in GTA. But and for this one, I feel they're getting to a point with the verisimilitude of the world, of how well it's constructed, that at some point they need to get a little more creative with just the general world satire, or back off of it a little bit. Kind of with Red Dead Redemption, there's a little bit of it in there, but in general it's not crazy, Well, there's less opportunity for it to be crazy in Red Dead Redemption, but
Red Dead is, more straightly allegorical or metaphorical, or it confronts issues more head on. It's not doing... Its satire is not its weapon of choice.
Yeah. In some instances.
Yeah.
But definitely... It's like I said, it's not a huge complaint about the game. It's a complaint that I share with all GTA games, but it's I'm kind of disappointed that it still feels this lazy in a lot of cases of just the... But on the other hand, I recognize that it needs to be there at a certain point, that you want to have this base world be a certain level of ridiculous and sort of self-referential, just to allow this overarching satirical narrative to actually take place and for you to be able to accept it. So I recognize its purpose. I just wish it was done a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I can see that. What else do you hate about Grand Theft Auto 5? Let's just get it out of the way right now.
That's my major complaint. I'm trying to think if there was any other significant issues I really have with the game so far, but I don't. I don't like their golf minigame that much, but even then I played it like once. Like I don't
Yeah.
I'm not like the kind of dude who's just like, this bowling minigame in GTA 4 is terrible and that ruins the whole game. Like I hate people who complain about like some really superfluous element of the game and like make that out to be like, oh, this fucking Liar's Dice in Red Dead is the worst thing in the world. It's like, you don't even have to fucking play it. Just don't. But I like their tennis minigame, okay. That was kind of fun.
I have not played the tennis minigame.
That's decent.
Okay.
I
don't
fucking beat Amanda's ass at it. Fuck her. Way better at tennis than Michael's wife.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have very few complaints about the game overall. I think the biggest thing for me, and this is again something where I really want to see where the story goes, this isn't a complaint. It's just something that interests me, and it's kind of an issue that I want to see if Rockstar ever kind of moves past it, and even if it's possible in an open world game, and how it is. But there is a heavy level of ludonarrative dissonance in the idea between like the kinds of things sometimes Michael and not Trevor. There's no ludonarrative dissonance on Trevor. Trevor, whatever you do is organic to that character, and I think that is the value of Trevor to the game from a mechanical standpoint. But with Franklin and specifically Michael, there just is that disconnect between they kill a fuck ton of people in the missions. They do not act like people who have just killed a fuck ton of people in the cutscenes.
I kind of agree with that and kind of don't agree with that because I think
it's better than in GTA 4.
I think the tone of the game is different enough and it's humorous enough where it's like GTA 4 was really oppressive. Like like intentionally, I feel in a lot of cases, just like with GTA 4, I mean, even just like the environment it's so like dark and overcast most of the time, and the shit that's just going on usually is really awful and just kind of depressing in a lot of ways. GTA 4 in terms of like the actual like main story stuff. It's just kind of like when I think about like a lot of the major story moments in GTA 4, it's just kind of sad. Like it's just a sad fucking game. In GTA 5. Isn't like that. It's a lot of like it's kind of reflected in the different cities where this is set in like fake Los Angeles, so it's really bright and colorful and it's not oppressive and it's like and like people aren't dealing with like this like deep gnawing inner sadness that like causes them to like Brucey to like go out to strip clubs and like juice up and stuff because like they can't deal with who they are because they're just sad and alone inside. It's like here it's like people have these like powerful emotions inside of them that they don't understand how to express. I think like Michael in particular, I think like embodies this facet to me in the story of just like he's an angry fucking man who's really frustrated with his place in life, who feels like he has done things that means he should be happier than he is, but he isn't because he's not a good person and he doesn't understand how to be a good person, and so he expresses that rage in really awful ways and he kills a lot of people. But then also like the game has a sort of almost like it kind of feels like a buddy cop movie in some like the writing, particularly like Michael interacting with Franklin, where it's like the game is funny. GTA 4 was never really funny. Like it had its satire elements to it, but it was like I said, it's sad. Like GTA 4 is a sad game. In GTA 5, like there are a lot of moments where I was just like would start laughing out loud.
Oh, I'm laughing.
How hilarious the dialogue is, and I think that makes a lighter tone where it's like. In GTA 5, most of the time, killing people is not killing people. You know, it's like Die Hard when fucking John McClane shoots someone. He's not killing a person. Unlike where if you're watching like fucking, I don't know, History of Violence or something, Viggo Mortensen kill someone in that movie, hey, he just fucking killed someone. Oh my god. It's like Die Hard, whatever. It feels like that to me.
And I agree with everything you just said, and I think it tackles it so much better than in any previous Rockstar game. But it's specifically with Franklin, where if his arc is he's resisting the gangbanger lifestyle, and even
but
while
I don't
he's
think
still in
he's not resisting it. He wants to go further with it. Like he doesn't. He wants to get out of this 2-bit go nowhere bullshit like gang banging shit that he's in. Of just like, yo man, we're just going to do a fucking drive-by and I'm going to sell some fucking weed, motherfucker. Like, because that gets you nowhere. Like, he's a fucking repo man at the beginning of the game. He wants to be doing the big shit. That's why when he meets up with Michael, he goes back to his house because he wants to meet this dude who was fucking like, who robbed banks and shit. He wants to get the big paper, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, and I see that, and I think
he needs his fucking ducats, motherfucker.
And that's why I tried to preface this by saying, you know, I want to see where they go with all of this, because I don't feel like I have enough of a read on Franklin yet to quite make judgments on all that. But what you're saying makes total sense, and you're deeper into the game than me, so you can comment on these characters a little more fully. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and what you said about it being funny, I do. GTA 5 is so it's like Portal 2 levels of funny to me, where I am laughing every 5 seconds. I'm just laughing throughout this game and laughing at little details in the world and what's on the radio, and it's just and in the cutscenes. It is so entertaining, and I feel like the big next thing I want to talk about, getting more back onto positive things for me, is that one of the things that just is such a unbelievable improvement to this. It's such a little thing, but it makes such a huge difference. Is how seamless everything is.
Yeah,
where it's a pretty long loading screen when you boot up the game. But then there's no more loading.
It's like the GTA 4 had the same issue of like. Why does Rockstar hate fucking, or like I guess Rockstar North, the guys who make Grand Theft Auto, why do they hate like the like start screens that have like your options and stuff in it? Why do you fucking put it in the disc and then it just goes into the game?
I'm okay with that because it takes so long to load. I just I start the game and then go do other stuff.
I don't know, like I feel like. I don't know. I like a start screen. I feel uncomfortable when I just put in the game and it just starts. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's clunky, and it'll be clunkier when GTA Online comes out, and you'll have to go into the main campaign to get into the online stuff.
Although at the very least, there it's like because I think how it works is on like the Switch wheel, there's like that fourth character that you just go to that. Like I hope how it works is that it just like does the same thing where it just goes like and backs out, and then like it probably would take a little bit longer because like you're loading into. Like maybe I don't know, like,
world or something.
Yeah, dropping into like other people are dropping into your world or something. However that shit works out, and it just goes futunk, 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 and it's like here I am. Like because if it does that, that's fucking cool. Even if it is going to take like 10 minutes to get to a multiplayer lobby, but
In any case, what I was going to say about the seamlessness is you watch your 3-minute loading screen, and that's it. No more loading, and it makes such a huge difference. Where when you go into, one of the things that bothered me about GTA 4 and Red Dead and tested my patience is that I'm the kind of guy who gets frustrated with just cutscenes that are just cutscenes. And it's just something where it's always been an issue with me where I feel like when I'm playing a game, just watching a cutscene that goes on for a significant amount of time bothers me in some way. Yeah. And it was kind of heightened by in GTA 4 and Red Dead, you would go to the place, be a little loading screen, then that would happen, then it would load again, then you would do it. But now it's you walk up, sometimes the cutscene doesn't even start, it's just in-game stuff. And then it goes right into the cutscene, there's no break, it's completely seamless, and it just, even if it's just the illusion of, even if many of the cutscenes are the same length as they were in Red Dead and GTA 4, although in a lot of cases I feel like they have shortened them.
I mean, there definitely are instances where there are like 5-minute plus long cutscenes in some places.
Definitely, and they're great. And I think, I don't know if the cutscenes themselves are actually better, but I love them a lot more because that seamless aspect is so cool. And then when the cutscene is done, the character just goes back into your hands. You don't have to load into that character. You're just playing them. And so your relationship with the characters feels so much more seamless. Everything about it is just so impressively just concrete and seamless and just really tight in that way.
Does it feel seamless to you?
Yeah, I've said that word a lot.
Would you describe it as seamless?
Yeah.
I mean that's very much Max Payne 3. Like I think that is like one of the biggest places that game influenced this one. Is to the point where it's like now that you say it, I recognize that it's there, but I didn't even notice it because that is exactly what Max Payne 3 does. Of like, because it definitely like just blends. Like you are in a cutscene 1 second, and it's like, oh, I'm playing like immediately. There's absolutely like no cut even. It's just like the camera pulls back a little bit more, and all of a sudden you're in control of your character. That's what Max Payne 3 does.
And I feel like that is the future of gaming in that way, because I remember when Final Fantasy 13 came out, it was one of the first games to do this seamless cutscene to gameplay, and they made a big deal about it. It says so on the box, and it's not even halfway as seamless as this stuff is in GTA 5. But like, I think Mass Effect 3 is very seamless in that way. A lot of recent games I've played are they're getting to this level, and GTA 5 is the best implementation of that I've seen so far.
Max Payne 3's is even better, but although that's because Max Payne 3 is a very linear game, so it's like, I don't know, like that was one of the coolest parts about Max Payne 3 is like the whole like cinematic presentation style of like I said, like I said on last podcast, it's annoying the second time you play through the game where you want to skip some of the cutscenes, but the first time you're playing it, it's just like you're going in and out of cutscenes so seamlessly, and then it's like you just like immediately go from like a cutscene 1 second to like the next second you like just diving through the air and start capping motherfuckers. It's awesome.
Nice. And I think the other thing that goes along with that is I just fucking love how alive the world and characters feel. Where like when you boot up the game every time, at least for me because I don't usually do quick saves, I'll get a little scene with Trevor or Michael or Franklin and see what they're doing with their day, and that will lead to some of my favorite experiences. Like one time, I boot it up. Trevor is like drunk in a pool, like face down. He gets up, and I'm in the middle of fuck nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm in a mansion on a mountain. The nearest thing in any direction is this giant Air Force base, and no cars or anything. So I wind up walking all the way down there, stumbling through this giant like farm, get to the Air Force base, and get myself killed by a tank. And it was just like this magical gaming moment.
Yeah. No, like that is. Like that shit, like that was what I was going to start talking about before we went on this huge tangent of like going back to the character switching is one of the things I'm most impressed about in terms of like how it works mechanically is that like this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this in a video game, and that the fact that it's implemented this perfectly of like I can't really imagine it being better. Like even like the fucking like just how you switch characters where it like just like pulls back the camera like that, and obviously that's there to disguise a loading screen. But even if it wasn't, that's exactly how I would want it to go. Like
you see geographically where they are.
Yeah, and it's like it gives you this nice sense of break. Like it gives you like kind of pause and breathe for a couple of seconds, and like just get to see okay, like here's where I am in the world. It gives you this nice context, and this is where I'm going. And so then you zoom over there, and then it loads in, and then all of a sudden I love like the fucking vignettes, like you said, Like where I had one with Trevor that was great, where it's like I just switched to him, and then he was just on a fucking highway in Los Santos on a scooter, and there was another dude on a scooter in front of him, and Trevor was just shouting, "We are Scooter Brothers, my friend! Scooter Brothers!" And I just kept on following him, and he just kind of shouted, "Scooter Brothers, motherfucker! We are Scooter Brothers! Alright!"
And don't you love imagining how Trevor got into that situation?
Exactly. It's just, it's like, I love all the times you'll just, like, switch to Trevor, and he's just, like, drunk in an alleyway or something.
Or Michael will be really frustrated with something, or Franklin will just be doing his thing. He'll come out of the grocery store or something. Mm-hmm. It's great. And
there's been like 3 or 4 different times in my game where I've switched to Franklin, and he's been walking out of the strip club, like being like, "Yo, guys, I'll see you later." And it's just like, why?
Franklin has a sex addiction.
Yeah, it's like, Franklin, why do you keep on going to this fucking strip club? And why is there only one strip club in all of Los Santos? I ask you, come on. There's got to be more than one strip club in LA, right? There has to be.
I've seen they're like on every fucking corner.
Exactly.
That's what I'll talk about that actual world in a minute. But like the LA connection is very impressive. But yes, that's its biggest inaccuracy about LA. Not enough strip clubs.
Yeah, exactly. Like
LA,
what the fuck?
Yeah. I think there are like 3 strip clubs within a mile of University of Southern California.
Yeah, alone. But then also like with those vignettes, that it's like a lot of them are really funny. Like they point out the funnier ones. But then like sometimes they're just kind of like dark and like kind of sad. Like there's especially a lot of Michael's where it's like one time I switched to Michael and then he just woke up screaming in his bed in the middle of the day. It's like, oh god, like oh shit, dude, you've just got PTSD from all the shit you've been through. Like that's
and a lot of Trevor's are just outright disturbing. Like the one we mentioned earlier about him having probably forced himself onto Floyd.
Yeah. It definitely heavily implies that he raped Floyd in his girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
This is actually my favorite one, is the one time I switched to Trevor, and he was under, it's like, what's basically like the Santa Monica Pier, like the Vespucci Beach. He's under like one of the big, like, piers at Vespucci Beach, and like there's just a dude tied with a rope to like one of the big wooden posts that like holds up the pier, and then Trevor just says like, "And that's the dangers of our modern capitalist society, my friend," and I just walked away, leaving that dude tied up. It's just like, what the fuck did I just drop into? Like, what was this conversation these 2 people were having, and what is the context for this? It's fucking great.
And I feel like I always find myself, I immediately get into a role-playing mindset because of those vignettes. Like with Trevor, 9 times out of 10 it'll be Trevor like getting kicked out of somewhere or something and yelling at someone, and I'll throw a fucking punch. Beat that person to death, and it's like that's how every Trevor section has to start, right?
Yeah. It's him just like drunkenly beating some prostitute to death. Exactly. Yeah. Does that multiple times.
That's Trevor. Mm-hmm. That's Trevor.
Yeah, and then like you saying that like kind of like the role-playing aspect of the game is definitely something that I've gotten into. But, like, I did a little bit in Red Dead Redemption, but, like, here it's, like, to a whole nother level, partially because you have 3 characters. Of, like, in Red Dead, I had a lot of fun where, you unlock the different outfits. Like, I had a lot of fun, like, sort of, like, contextualizing, like the outfits John Marston wears in different sections of the game, where it's like he starts off with his normal outfit, then eventually as you're going through Armadillo, and my guy Marston is a good Marston, and he's working with the sheriff. Eventually, like he gets if you get enough honor, you get like the duster jacket, and so I'd put that on.
I never got enough honor for that.
Yeah, so I put that on in the Armadillo sections, and when we went to Mexico, I put on the Mexican poncho because it's too fucking hot down there, and to make him look like Clint Eastwood. And it's like it's a fun little like the character. It's a choice that I'm able to make to personally shift the character and suggest certain things about the character as the story goes on. And that's one thing that I really liked doing in GTA 5 is that they allow a lot more customizability than GTA 4 and a little bit less than San Andreas in terms of like how you dress your character and how they look. Of like I started off the game with having Michael, like one of the first things I gave Michael was like just like a level of scruff. Because he's just like, he's not satisfied with his life, so he's not going to bother to shave a whole lot. And then he's wearing really like, he's wearing shorts and flip-flops a lot, and that sort of was his wardrobe. And then as he starts getting back into the game and being like, yeah, dude, like I'm living life again, like this is the shit I used to do, and he's feeling youthful. He gets clean-shaven, slicks his hair back a little bit more. I bought him a bunch of nice suits. And then now at the part where I'm in the game, his life has gone to shit again, and the whole like, just like really bad way beyond where it was before. And so now like he wears like really like he only has like this really dirty suit because of story reasons right now. But then also like I've had his hair grow out more, and he's got like this really heavy scruffy beard, and then this like fucking Franklin where he starts out looking like some 2-bit gangster in the hood. Eventually, when he gets enough money, he's like moves out of the hood and like gets this nicer place pretty early on in the story. And when that happens, like I get him a slightly fancier haircut. He grows a nice goatee and starts wearing really nice clothes all the time. It's like this fun little, just like like that's what this character would do, and like makes the character very personal.
I've had fun giving my characters tattoos.
Yeah, I gave Michael. Actually, I'll talk about when I give Michael a tattoo later because I've got a whole story to tell.
I have not given Michael a tattoo yet, just because for narrative purposes I couldn't see him getting one yet. But I have Trevor and Franklin just completely covered, just because I felt like Franklin would have some, Trevor would have some, and Trevor's would make no sense. That's the main thing for me with Trevor. Is Trevor has a bunch of dragons and like Chinese women. It's
dude, Trevor's already like covered in tattoos at the beginning of the game. Like he's got a bunch.
Oh, he is, I guess.
Like, do you
get to change them? Like, they all disappear.
Like, I would imagine, that they wouldn't just like. He's got like you can put a tattoo on his pinky finger because that's like the one place that's not covered. Yeah. The one thing I'm disappointed at with my customizability of Franklin was that in San Andreas, my CJ very quickly became a guy who wore a green suit with black sunglasses and then just like blonde dyed cornrows. And that was my CJ in San Andreas. Can't give Franklin blonde cornrows. It's really disappointing to me because Franklin wouldn't wear that anyways, but I really wanted, just for a little bit, I wanted to just like dress him up like that, get in a fucking like a green car, and then drive over to Grove Street and just hang out in Grove Street for a little bit. Because that's one of the things I like about this game, is that like it being set in Los Santos again, is like there are just weird moments where I have like San Andreas flashbacks of just like, oh shit, like this is where that one mission from San Andreas where it's like sweet, it has his girlfriend with him at like a hotel, and like the Vagas attack him. It's like you have to go save him. Like this is that fucking hotel. It's like I can recognize. Like I've never been to LA, but I played a shit ton of San Andreas, so it's like I'm like, oh, like yeah, this is Vespucci Beach, or like hey, fuck, like there's fucking Grove Street. This is the Ballas turf. Like I should get the fuck out of here because this is Ballas neighborhood, and they're gonna glack me, motherfucker.
Well, and let's talk about the world now then, because I have spent a significant amount of time in Southern California, in LA and in San Diego and Anaheim, in those areas. I've been there probably 4 times, and so it was just surreal, and it continues to be surreal how much that game feels like the surreal other world version of LA and of San Diego and those areas. And it's so crazy because I even found like a restaurant I had been to, like a different version of it, like, and the street looked the same, or going up a hill and being like, I've been on this fucking hill in the real world, this is crazy, or going down to Venice Beach, or just Vespucci Beach in this game, but it feels just like Venice Beach, or Santa Monica Pier, which is what I don't know what the pier is called here, but that's the pier I had my weird like drunken phone call to you on.
Oh yeah, when I was playing Resident Evil 5 with Rob,
and this is
where you just called me up and was like, hey Sean, I'm on a pier. It's like, it's nice, Jonathan. What are you doing? I'm playing Resident Evil with Rob. That's cool.
I was really lonely that day.
Bye, Sean. Bye, Jonathan.
For context, I had a broken leg on a school trip to LA, and everyone else was down on the beach having fun while I had to sit on the pier in my wheelchair.
You should have just started fucking punching people. That's what I do when I'm on that pier.
I know. On the beach, I love punching people. I punch like 30 people in a row.
Punch out motherfuckers.
Yep.
Yeah. Asshole people on beaches.
Trevor Phillips punch out.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
For some reason, when I punch people on beaches, I'm usually Franklin.
I am too, but Franklin's stuff is more over in that area.
True. That's true.
So yeah.
Yeah, Franklin just hates people who go to beaches.
Yeah.
Like, fuck those, like, entitled pricks. Like, the beach belongs to everyone, assholes.
Yep.
Mostly to me. That's why I'm going to punch you.
Exactly. But no, the world is like... I still have not probably explored even half of it. It's so big.
Yeah, like, there are definitely, like, pretty large sections of the, like, desert, like, Blaine County area that I have not, like, explored in detail.
Right. It just all feels so alive and detailed and rich and just fun to go around. I just, I've been much more, like, campaign focused than I ever have been before in Grand Theft Auto, and I really like that. But the couple of times I've gone out and just explored have been really exciting, and I love how much the missions use the map.
Yeah.
And even more effectively than GTA 4, I think, where GTA 4's best element of mission variety was the different places it took you to. Mm-hmm. GTA 5 has better mission variety to start with, but just in terms of all the different places you visit and where different action scenes take place, it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And it's definitely like, and it's just, I like the setting more, like, just like naturally than Liberty City. Like,
I do too.
It's a lot more fun to be in, and it offers a lot more geographic variety where it's like, fucking New York City is New York City. Like, it's a giant metropolis. It's either the buildings are 2 stories tall or they're 100 stories tall. And it's like, that is your, like, that's how different the environments basically look. Whereas with Los Santos and kind of like San Andreas and, like, including the, like, northern areas, is like you have, like, the dilapidated slums, that, like, Franklin lives in. You've got the beach area where there's some nice houses over there, and then you get into, like, sort of the downtown area where there's the big skyscrapers, and then you get up into, like, the rich Vinewood area where all the nice houses and Michael live, and then once you get past that, you're in fucking just, like, redneck country, motherfucker, where It's like everyone's just making meth, and it's like weird little just, like, small towns just sort of, like, scattered about the place, and there's, like, that big fucking mountain in the middle. It's like the amount of geographic variety that allows, and just, like, getting around Blaine County is completely different than driving around Los Santos, because it's like, if you want to get somewhere fast in Blaine County, you want to find something that's good at off-road, then driving off-road is super fucking fun, because the car physics are great, so it's like,
I love it.
Constantly going off, like, ramps and shit.
I just love going on mountains, either on a motorcycle or a bike or a car or anything. Or usually the ATV is my favorite, but I just love driving up those mountains and then getting to the top. Either, like, there's also the tram you can take to the top, and just going down and seeing how long I can survive and how many crazy things I can do.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the car physics. Oh my god, the first night I played this game, the moment I knew I was in love with this game was when I kind of went out exploring, went out into the mountains just on a nice, like, evening drive. Great song playing on the radio. It was so awesome. And then I decided to drive kind of off a cliff, and I did basically the car flip from Casino Royale, which is the longest ever stunt car flip in filmmaking, and it was so fun. It's like that same kind of just awesome stunt physics. I love it.
Yeah, like, there's definitely... Like, let's just start talking about, I guess, driving here, because
I
think
love driving in this game.
I think it's definitely hits the perfect medium. Like, I think when we talked about our, like, hopes for GTA 5, this is exactly what I was hoping for.
Yep.
The way it controls, of, like, it still has that great sense of weight and momentum, and then obviously the great physics engine that GTA 4 had, but it allows a lot more flexibility and usability that, like, a game like Saints Row or Sleeping Dogs has in its driving. So it's like, you can feel like you can turn, you feel like you have a lot of control over the car, especially if you have a really nice car, but it also has all that weight and momentum, so when you, like, it's got a great sense of speed, and then when you go off jumps, that, like, feels really good, and just, like,
God, I love it.
And then, like, there's also, like, the different types of cars feel really, really different.
They do,
definitely. In GTA 4, that I really like. Of, like, when you're in a sports car, yes, you go really fast, you accelerate really quickly, but you're also really light, and so it's like, that, like, those are the cars that, like, kind of GTA 4 style, like, you can take turns so fast that you just go off the fucking road and you just start barrel rolling, because, like, motherfucker, you can't take a 9-degree turn at 170 miles per hour in a car. That's gonna fucking wreck you. And then also you've got, like, SUVs that, like, they're a lot, like, top heavy, and so they'll roll that way, but it's like they can just, like, start, like, driving over cars and shit. There's just, there's a great amount of variety to the driving, and it all feels really great. And like I said, the off-road driving is super fucking fun, because it's like they have a great sense of like your wheels not having enough traction in the dirt, so your car sort of like can start spinning, and then you just like get that right amount of traction and start like going off the hill, and then you go off the jump. It's like it's a lot of fun, and you feel like you've got a lot of control over your car. But then, like, your car can get out of your control if you're in a situation where it should. I guess.
I love that they've also added in a system where, like, you know, it's easier to drive in some ways, but it's also much more damning if you fuck up.
Yeah.
Because, like, I find that I crash a lot more in this game, and I fly out of the windshield. I love that you can do that. That you can.
Yeah, that's in GTA 4. You can do that.
It almost never happens to me.
It happens to me all the time in GTA 4. It's happened to me once in 5 so far.
Oh, really?
So,
It happens to me a lot in 5.
I honestly don't. Like, I definitely crash, but I don't get in a lot of like head-on collisions that would cause you to fly out of the windshield.
I'm not all that good at driving GTA 5 yet because I crash around everywhere. It's hilarious. But
I definitely there's a lot of instances where I'll like slam into another car like on
that stuff happens mostly to me.
But I never I don't know. I tend not to like slam into a car.
Okay, no, that doesn't happen to me a ton. Usually, it's actually if I lose control while I'm trying to escape, like the cops or something, and I'm going to take a turn, and I don't take it the right way and hit a wall, and I fly out and hit the cop car, and then I roll off, and the cops shoot me to death, and I'm wasted.
Yeah, and then just even without like the flying through the windshield, the game has a lot better like sort of like modular damage system to the car, where it's like as the car gets into a lot of wrecks, it's like acceleration decreases, its max speed goes down, it's handling like I like that, you know, in GTA 4 like you could get tires to pop and stuff, but in this, like if you get in a really shitty wreck, like the chassis crushes the tire and the tire just can't move anymore.
Yep.
And just like there's just a great sense of like feel like I've tried to avoid using this word too much because like when I think about this game I just think of this word, but there's a great sense of verisimilitude of just like this is like real life, but it's better. Like, It's just like, it's the thing I like about Rockstar games. The reason I like Rockstar open world games over like something like Saints Row or Sleeping Dogs ultimately is because there's that fantastic sense of like, if I hit a dude with a car in this game, that's what it's like. Like the dude who hits the hood, like rolls off the top. It's like if I get into a bad car crash, it's like I can maybe still drive my car, but like my front two wheels are just locked up in the chassis, so it's like they can't move. It's like it's just fantastic. It feels so real, and it makes it so much more fun.
And I also wanted to talk about the vibration in this game. The use of vibration in the controller is so great, and it's so subtle in some ways, and so cleverly employed. Like when you're driving, like the more damage you take, the more it will vibrate, but it'll vibrate in more different dynamic ways. Like if the chassis has crushed your wheels, it'll be like this slow rumble that like it's just you can feel your car dying. And if you're just kind of fucked up, it'll just rumble hard and you know that this is a rough ride. And then even little things like, you know how most roads have on the median.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, the bumpy thing on the side of the road, right?
Yeah, which is like in real life is to keep you from falling asleep.
Yeah,
here it rumbles, and that's
great. Yeah, it's like GTA 5 is just chock full of just amazing little tiny details like that.
Yep.
That like nothing else has done. Like to me, that is the biggest takeaway like of what I love about this game outside of like the character switching part is just the detail in the world is a order of magnitudes better than what was done in GTA 4. And it's far and away better than any other open world game I've ever played has managed to achieve of just like one little tiny effect of like the sound, because I think the sound design of the game is also really great. Like there's one thing that I think is they just fucking nailed absolutely perfectly that I've never seen any other game do, which is like the Doppler effect on the sound of cars when they pass you by. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yep.
And it makes it really stressful to drive against traffic because when they start honking at you, it has that effect of when you're driving towards them, the sound gets higher pitched because the sound waves are getting compressed because of your comparative velocities. And then once you pass them, the sound gets lower. Like that's what Doppler effect is. It's like it's fucking perfect. Just like that's absolutely pitch perfect. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and I have a surround sound system at home. It's even better under that, and like I also have those surround headphones that PlayStation makes. Those details are just so crazy to hear those up close and in that level of detail. It's so
awesome. So awesome,
rich.
And then I'm just like, because all the driving stuff I'm thinking in my head, one of my favorite things to do is, because I've always wanted to do this when I'm driving in real life, is that in a lot of the highways, in the middle, like in the median between the lanes, they'll have like, they're not traffic cones, but like they're the tall, sort of like plasticky, like things to be like, hey, don't come over on the side, and they're just like rows of them.
Yep.
Just drive in the middle and knock all those motherfuckers down.
I love it.
Makes the most satisfying, just like boom, 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 boom noise. It's great. So much fun.
Yep. All right, what do you want to talk about next? I think we've covered the driving and some of the open world elements pretty well.
I guess let's talk about fucking the police. I think that
that's
they've
really
changed in like subtly, but in a really significant way. They've changed the way the wanted system works from GTA 4.
Yeah, it's like the basic like element of how it starts is similar, where it's 5 stars instead of 6. But it's tied to the level of your crime. Killing a cop will get you 3 immediately, that kind of thing. And then it's about proximity, but it works differently where when you get out of proximity, instead of the wanted level just slowly dissipating, it's on your map, you see areas where they're searching, and you have to stay out of those areas.
You see their vision cone. So all of a sudden it becomes a stealth game, whereas GTA 4, it was, once you break line of sight and get far enough away, the cops have like that like circle of influence on the map where it's like if you're in that circle of influence, they just know where you are. And like if you pass any cop, all of a sudden that is completely recentered on you and you have to like go through the whole rigmarole again. And that it's a way better than the older GTA games where it was just like, just don't get seen. And we're not going to present you any information over whether or not cops know where you are or not. Just like avoid cops. It's like trying to get rid of the police in like a game like San Andreas. Almost fucking impossible. It's just like, it's a nightmare unless you only have 1 or 2 stars. But yeah, and this, it's so thrilling because it feels like a fucking police chase.
Oh, yeah.
Especially once you get to like 3 stars and then the choppers start coming out, where it's like it is a struggle to try to break line of sight with them. But then as soon as you break line of sight, the game is not, I just have to get as far away as possible. Now it's like, I need to find a good place to like lay low for a second. Like, so you'll just drive into an alleyway and like get out and duck behind a car or something and then watch as the police cars drive by and then see like their searchlight from the helicopter like looking for you, but they don't quite find you.
And then if it starts up again, your heart is racing.
Yeah, it's because you also die super fucking fast in this game. Like,
yeah.
Like it's something where I don't know if I really dislike the fact that you die as quickly as you can, or if I think it's really awesome because it does add a like great sense of tension because like you can survive really well if you plan and like you anticipate and you like ambush someone, but if you just get thrown into the middle of like a firefight, you can go down in like a fucking second.
Oh yeah, I think it's a little too extreme.
I kind of am erring on that side too.
It's frustrating for me a little bit because there are sometimes where I've just kind of rage quit the game because it's just like...
Okay, I've never done that.
No, not rage quit.
I
shouldn't say rage quit, where I've just turned it off and gone and done something else because I got frustrated and I was kind of sick of it after a minute. And that's usually just a case where I died too easily, too fast, sometimes just trying to get from one place to another. Where like I see a little thing on the side of the road, one of those events that pops up, and I want to go do it, and then like I find out I can steal this courier's money, so I beat him up and take the money, but then there's a guy behind a thing and he just shoots me and I'm dead, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So haven't thrown a controller playing GTA 5, nothing like that.
Good.
But
but the upside of that is that like when you get in a police chase, especially once it gets to like 3 stars. You don't feel like I can just take this,
Right.
Like, whereas in GTA 4, it's just like, I could kill fucking everybody if I really wanted to. Like, I just have to hop out, pull out an RPG, and everyone's dead. Whereas you saw me earlier, right before we started this, I, like, was intentionally, like, and I'm at a point in the game where I have almost every weapon unlocked, just not, like, the absolutely most ridiculous shit, but I do have an RPG. So, like, I can take down helicopters reliably. So I, like, specifically hold up in a town on a rooftop in the middle of Blaine County and just like started a firefight with the cops, and I think I managed to get to 5 stars right when I died, but that was a struggle. Like I had to get full body armor. I was like going into slow motion. It's like I had to use everything at my disposal in order to just get to that level. So the game is a lot more challenging, and in that way, I think it is a lot more satisfying.
No, and I completely agree. It's a fair challenge. It's every single time you get a wanted level, it's an event.
Yeah.
But it's not an annoying, like, oh, God, this is a fucking hassle. This is a real challenge. It's fun. There's a million different ways to approach it.
Mm-hmm. And especially, I love when, like, there have been a lot of times where I'm out in the fucking sticks, in the middle of nowhere, and I get into a 3-star thing where it's, like, helicopters after me. There's just, like, this great... like, I'm fucking driving this sports car you should not take off-road at all. I'm driving it over hills and watching, like, this helicopter spotlight trying to follow me. And it's like, it definitely gets to use that sense of, like, you are in the middle of this high-speed chase, the kind of thing you would be seeing watching on like a news show or something of like, holy shit,
Right.
like there's someone driving down I-25 at like 150 miles per hour and like they've got a helicopter spotlight on him and shit. Like, oh my god, it's like I'm that motherfucker now.
Yep, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
So that's the wanted system. Do you want to talk about combat since we just mentioned
sure.
it? Okay.
Let's move on to that mechanical system.
Yeah. It's sort of, as we were describing, we were talking about this earlier, it's kind of a midway point. There's more on the side of the more modern stuff between like GTA 4 and Max Payne 3.
Yeah. It's definitely, since I've played both those games, I think I'll like approach this where it's definitely like it's one. I highly recommend playing the game without the default lock-on aiming system on, which I know that you said that's what you had been using because again that's like just what the game gives you at the start. Like, and it doesn't even tell you, hey, you can change it if you want to. Like, I had to go digging through menus to find that.
Yeah, and I just hadn't really thought to change it yet. I'd seen the option, but I didn't know what the other ones were like, and I just didn't kind of feel like going through the hassle of testing it.
So for me, I went to pretty early on when I was like, this lock-on's way too heavy. Like, I want to find something a little more that I have a lot more control over. There are two other modes, like free aim and assisted aiming. I find assisted aiming is a lot better because it has a little bit of aim assist on it, but then it also kind of does the kind of like a Call of Duty thing of like when you hit left trigger, then it will zoom in on a guy and sort of like snap to him a little bit. But it's not like, oh, I just hold down left trigger and then like I'm always aiming at someone. I'm just aiming at like whoever's nearest or whatever. And then free aim is just like completely free, and I think that's a bit too far in like the Max Payne 3 direction in the sense of like this isn't just a third-person shooter. The world is not designed in such a way that's like you should be able to approach a game that way with like that aiming fidelity and just like rely on it. You need a little bit of extra help with the lock-on. So I definitely find assisted aiming is a good medium. So that's what I've been playing on. And I definitely think that the shooting is way better than GTA 4. And I think it is. It's not like substantially better than Red Dead Redemption, but I think it is better. Like, I find it a lot more satisfying, a lot more engaging.
So far, and maybe it's just because of the kind of aiming I was using, I like Red Dead more, but maybe I'm just not deep into the game.
Yeah, and it's definitely, and it's interesting because because Michael has the slowdown power, so that definitely affects the way you play the game with him. Because that plays a lot more like Red Dead, because you can do basically what is Deadeye, whereas Franklin doesn't have anything that helps his like ground combat at all. And then Trevor just has like Juggernaut mode that's really fucking crazy. Yeah. Just like blow shit up. But yeah, like I think like, you know, they force you to take cover a lot more, which I like. I think it like say it feels a lot more like Max Payne 3, but you're not as powerful because you don't have the slowdown and the diving and stuff. And so it's not quite at that level, but it could never be because that's not what the game is. But I think it is definitely. It's the best shooting I've ever had in an open world game, I feel, by far. Like, I think it's... I like look forward to engaging with it. I enjoy engaging with it in the missions and stuff. I like the shooting in the game.
Yeah, I have never dreaded shooting in it, although there's that mission where you go hunting with Cletus as Trevor, and I found I was terrible at shooting car tires.
Yeah, that part's pretty hard.
That's maybe just be me, but I was like, this sniper rifle's good. I'm just not good at it in this specific context. But yeah, I like the shooting a lot. I need to change my aiming because I feel like so far it feels like a weird hybrid with GTA 4 elements in that heavy lock-on system.
Yeah, it's definitely like... I really dislike that lock-on system because also, you know, while you die really easily, so do the enemies. Like, you know, in GTA 4, enemies had like that full ring of health like around the thing. Like, they had a lot more health. In this, people die, unless they have body armor, they die in like 2 shots. Yeah. And this also has a very Max Payne 3 thing of like... And actually, Last of Us has this too of like, if you fight a dude with body armor, the way to take him down is to shoot him in the head, the arms, or the legs, where his body armor ain't. Because that's how that actually works. So the positional shooting in that way is really, really good.
Right. No, but I like it, and I never definitely there's a difference between where GTA 4, where if it's a heavy shooting mission, I'm like, fuck me, and in GTA 5, it's like, cool, this is fun.
Yeah. Whereas like GTA 4, you know, it's a game that came out in fucking 2008, so this is kind of to be expected. But yeah, just like going into aiming, moving around while you're aiming, going into cover in GTA 4 felt like super sluggish, whereas here it feels really snappy and responsive in just the way you'd want it to be.
I like the cover system. I think it works well, and I like that. One of the few complaints I had with Mass Effect 3 was I thought the A or X button, depending on which controller you're using, did way too much. Yeah. And I like that cover is not X/A. It's like not everything is that one button. They split it up across the controller, and it's good.
Yeah, they like... And man, they fucking jam-pack controls in this game, too. Where it's like, there's like like, depending on the context, And they're like really different contexts. Like there's 1,000 things jammed onto the fucking D-pad in this game.
Oh yeah.
Of like, if you hold this, like if you hold down on the D-pad, then you go into the switch mode. If you just tap it, then it like zooms out the mini-map. Or it's like, oh, if you hold right when you're in certain cars on the D-pad, it'll like change the hood of the car. Like it'll roll it up or roll it down if it's a convertible.
I didn't even know about the mini-map expanding.
Oh, well, that's what tapping down on the D-pad does.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's just like, it's ridiculous. There's so many... It's almost too much where it's like I'll go into the menu to be like, okay, what the fuck was like, how do I do a stealth kill or something? It's like there's just nothing. Like half the information is like, what was the dumb convertible thing? Which direction on the D-pad was that? It's like, yeah, no, they don't even show it. It's just like there's too many. There's already like 3 different functions assigned to that button. Yeah. So, well, shit.
And the default controls are pretty weird for GTA 5 for me because on the PS3 controller it defaults to L2 R2 shooting.
Oh. Yeah,
that's
what Sleeping Dogs did too.
Yeah, you can change it really easily, and then also it would have you drive but then also made driving was default L2 R2, which I use because I like those buttons for driving. But you would shoot and drive with the same button theoretically on that, which would just feel a tad. I guess you do on the
that's you use the triggers to shoot.
I guess just with the PS3 controller how it works.
Yeah,
I feel like such a clear division. Before.
Yeah, no, definitely like the way games have gone on PS3 because the R2 and L2 are shit buttons.
Yeah,
they use R1 and L1 for shooting.
By the way, I want to recommend if you're a PS3 owner, I have this like special thing. It was like $5 at Best Buy I got for my PS3 controller, which adds triggers onto your L2 R2. You snap them on. They're like plastic things. You put them on there. They basically just curve up so you can just rest your hand on it. I don't really like them for shooters. I would still just use L1 R1 because I think they're fine. They're just buttons. But with L2 R2 for any game where you have to hold down one of the triggers for a long period of time, put those on. Like buy them. I think they're from Pelican or something. They're super cheap. They're really good. And for GTA 5 driving, it really feels like they're big and substantial enough. It really feels kind of like using an accelerator or something. I really like it. One of the reasons I got it on PS3 is that while I love the 360 controller, GTA 4 driving was always uncomfortable to me. I don't know exactly why, but holding down the right trigger hurt my finger for that amount of time. Maybe it's just the size of my hands or something, but driving in GTA is not comfortable to me on the 360 controller, whereas it's kind of the one thing I think L2 and R2 do well. But it helps if you can have the trigger on there so your finger doesn't slide off. But then it's really comfortable to do it that way. And then those also come with, at least the version I got, these grips you put on the thumbsticks that just put some like scoring on it, so they don't slide off the thumbsticks.
Yeah, because someone thought it would be a great idea to make the thumbsticks convex instead of concave.
Right.
Because that's how you grip onto things, right? By them having a curved out surface instead of a curved in surface.
Right. So I recommend that for GTA 5. Like I don't use those triggers for games like Mass Effect or something like that. But Hotline Miami, Journey, things like that I've played. But I do use it for GTA 5. They're very helpful.
Do you even use R2 and L2 in Journey?
I don't know. I haven't played Journey. I just
said
that.
I was like, why would you even ever like? Yeah, I'm like maybe that can swivel the camera as like a secondary control interface, but I don't think.
I haven't played it, but
then maybe you shouldn't mention it.
Sorry.
Yeah, Jesus, Jonathan.
Sorry.
Okay, what the fuck were we talking about?
Fuck it. Oh, shooting we were talking about.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we covered that.
Yeah.
What else is there to talk about here?
Shit.
Here's something I want to talk about, which is mission structure. And missions generally, where we'll get into specific mission narrative content.
Yeah.
But I feel like one of the complaints I had about GTA 4 was obviously I felt the missions were very repetitive.
Yeah, like 90% of all missions was, let's drive here and talk on the way there, and then let's shoot someone, and then let's drive back.
GTA 5 has a lot more variety. I really like it. It's still mostly, combat, because it's a combat-based game, and it's a lot of driving. But I think, because I don't dread driving or shooting in GTA 5 the same way I did in GTA 4. And I like driving in GTA 4, except when you had to specifically do something, because sometimes driving could be so clunky and the AI did not perform the same way you did. GTA 4 could be really unforgiving that way. In GTA 5, I love missions that are driving heavy.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I like just the specific structure where you have the 3 characters, so you're always switching around. There are specific missions to each one.
Yeah.
You can access them from different ways, too.
Yeah, that's one of the really interesting small details is depending on if you approach one mission as Michael, like you will like start off the mission like meeting these guys, having a conversation with them, and then Trevor comes in. Or if you approach that from Trevor, it's like you walk up to Michael already having a conversation with these dudes, and then you interrupt them.
Right.
It's like a really weird small detail.
It's really interesting. But the other thing is that it's not you have like 5 different people you're working for, and they each have 10 missions, and you do them all checklist style.
Yeah.
It's just it's a lot. Like sometimes there are people where you do multiple missions for, but mostly it's just
most of the missions are like yourself. Like
Yeah.
most of the, like it's a Michael mission. Usually it's just like and like you go to your house and it's like some event that just sort of pops up that requires Michael to take action, which rather than, and this is like a problem that all Rockstar games have had, is that most of the missions are I am this bitch for this other dude who's just sending me out to do stuff,
Right.
and that gets old really fast a lot of times.
It does, and I think this is one of the best things about GTA 5 is that there is such a clearer delineation between main story content and fun side stuff.
Yeah.
So the fun side stuff, like the Stranger and Freaks missions, or things like with Franklin, you go with your sister or old girlfriend or whatever she is, Tanisha, and do the missions with the tow truck and stuff.
That's not Tanisha. That's
Oh.
That's not even his old girlfriend. That's his old like friend who's the girlfriend of like some other dude who should be doing the tow truck shit, but he's not because he's getting high somewhere.
Right.
And so you do tow truck shit.
But either way, there's a clear delineation on
Yeah.
that stuff, and I always find like it's sort of like in Mass Effect where I clean up the side missions before going and doing a priority mission. I just I find myself doing a lot of side quests, and then when I don't have anything left to do, then I go in and do Franklin's next big part, something like that. And I really think it's satisfying. There's no part so far for me at least where my mission, like my screen is so fucking cluttered with Brucey and Roman and little Jacob and everybody, and I've got so much to do. It's like overwhelming. It's very manageable.
Yeah. Like usually it'll be like the most clustered it gets is that each character might have one story mission at the same time, and that's about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas, like I definitely, and that sort of brings up like one of the things of how the mission structure works is that, and this is sort of a lesson I think they took from Red Dead Redemption, is like there are 3 different levels of missions, where there are the main story missions, obviously, and those are really great because I also think like not only like there's a lot of variety in it, but they also tend to have really like awesome big set pieces, and so like a lot of like the missions will resolve around like something really cool, like getting Franklin to jump on the back of a yacht that is speeding down the highway is one of the early examples. So it's like there's often just like some really fucking cool thing that's going to happen in the middle of the mission. So you have the story missions, then you have, like you said, the Stranger and Freaks missions, which those are like fun a lot of times, and some of them are just like fucking crazy. Like I've run into some really weird fucking ones here and there, and then some of them will be like that's where the racing missions are sort of like hidden behind one of those and stuff. And then there's just random shit that will happen in the world, and that last one is one that like GTA games have not had yet, because that's something they developed for Red Dead Redemption, of just like, oh, I'm driving down this highway, and then there'll be like simple repeating ones like, oh, there's an armored car here, and I can just like go take it out. Or there'll be one where it's like, oh, those dudes are robbing this convenience store, and I can help them out if I want, and then like help them get away. And like, you just run into those random events all the fucking time, and they're a lot of fun. Like, there's one I found when I was Trevor. It was basically just the beginning of No Country for Old Men, where I just was like driving down the street.
I love that one. Yeah.
And then it's just like I go off the road and it's like there's this drug deal that just went bad. Everyone is dead, and it's like, well, here's this case full like $5,000. I guess I'll just take that. And
there's one guy crawling away, and you shoot him.
Yeah, he's like, don't take the money. I didn't shoot him. He just died. He died before I could shoot him.
I went and stomped his face in.
No. Like I said, he died before I had to. Because I was Trevor, I would have fucking massacred that dude.
Yeah.
But then you take the money, and then as you're driving away, all of a sudden, like a Mexican cartel or whoever the fuck they are, like come after you for the money.
Yep. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
And I think that
It's
overall...
chock full of those.
Yeah, and I love those. They work really well here. I liked them a little more in Red Dead because they added to that sense of mysterious like atmosphere to that game.
I actually like them more in GTA 5 because I feel like I run into a lot of unique ones in GTA 5, whereas Red Dead, you spend like 3 hours playing that game and you've basically seen all of them. You've seen, oh, here's the woman who's going to be like, help me, and like if she's alone, she's going to pull you off your horse, or if there's like a carriage over there that's collapsed, oh, there are people hiding behind the carriage, or it's like, oh, this guy stole my horse, or that guy stole my carriage, or hey, man, you want to help do a hunting mission, or let's go find some herbs, like there's like the dozen or so. Like the best one in Red Dead that would only pop up occasionally was like, my wife's getting hanged, and you're like, well, I'm just going to probably accidentally shoot her in the face while I'm trying to shoot the rope, sorry, man.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but in this, like, I've run into, like, like probably a dozen at least just like completely unique ones that aren't just like my purse is getting stolen, here's an armored truck. It'll be stuff like, this is the beginning of No Country for Old Men. What the fuck?
Well, I think those are a definite improvement. I guess I was just talking on a side of like how well they blend with the game. To me, I haven't played Red Dead in so long. Maybe it's just a nostalgia kind of thing. But and I'm not dismissing anything in GTA 5. It's a phenomenal use of that system.
I mean, I will say that like one of the ones that doesn't make any goddamn sense to me is the one of like, this guy's stealing my purse, or I ran into one of like, there was a kid, it's like, that guy's stealing my car. Help me. It's like, it's called Grand Theft Auto. I steal a car once every 3 minutes on average in this fucking game. So it's like those ones of like, I mean, at least you can like, you know, kill the dude who's stealing the purse and then just take the purse for yourself. Like, you can do that. And that's like, but then I've like, it's weird that like, when I do that, I feel like an asshole. Just killing the guy? Whatever. Or just killing some like just punching out a random person on the street, I don't care. Taking this woman's purse that just got stolen, now I feel like a dick.
Well, usually I'll go back and beat her to death.
Oh, well, yeah, I just give it to her. Because it's usually not enough money that's like, as punk change. I could only buy like one sticky bomb with the money you're giving me.
Nah, $500 in that purse, I'm going to take it and I'm going to rub it. Like, the thing I love most is when the punk-ass kid who, like, lost his bike and you go get his bike back, and it's not a motorcycle bike, it's just a literal bike. Yeah. So you cycle it back, and then he gets on it, and I shoot him in the back, and hear him going, oh no, and stomp his face in and take the bike. So he briefly gets his beloved bike back, and then fucking dies. Yeah.
I just usually beat him to death with a baseball bat, but that's just me.
So I noticed...
I prefer it to be a little more physical.
So, Sean.
Yeah. I
noticed when you were playing GTA 5, I came in today, you were playing GTA 5, you were doing a lot more of the kind of just crazy rampage shit that you did in Red Dead, for instance.
Yeah. Well, because the characters, one, feel a lot more like they would do that, whereas John Marston's a good dude. Like, he used to be a bad dude. Now he's just like John Marston won't even sleep with a goddamn prostitute because he's married. And he's in the Old West, for God's sakes. And he won't even sleep with a prostitute. It's like, how out of place then does it feel to go just kill a random person on the street? You tell me.
I thought the story felt out of place because John Marston was a maniac, and then he goes into the cutscenes and he's nice. What was wrong with the story?
Yeah, whereas for me, with GTA 5, like, I definitely feel like, one, like, the tone is so much lighter, where, like I said, like, the game is really funny a lot of times. And then there's just a lot of people in the game that are just pricks. And it's like, fuck you, dude. I'm just gonna punch you out. And punching people out is so much fun.
It's the best thing in this game.
The animation is so great, and the sound is so satisfying. There's just like, it's the one of my favorite things to do in the whole game is just run around and just punch people. It's so fucking fun.
I love it. Like I'll always, like I say, whenever I spawn Trevor, I fucking just punch everyone in sight because you have this like 10-foot radius where you will just kill them with one punch. And they are down.
Yeah, because Trevor's really fucking strong. Like, his strength stat is almost maxed out at the beginning, so he'll just, like...
It's fucking brutal, and the sound is, like, as you said, so great. And then if they do live after that first punch, you just get them on the ground and just stomp on them. It's...
Yeah, and especially in particular when I play as Trevor, I find myself doing horrible things constantly.
Yeah.
And did you know that you can fucking buy a can of gasoline, and that is a weapon in the game? You can buy a can of gasoline, and that is a weapon in the game. You can you can just from ammunition store.
Oh, I need to go.
And you can just pour, and it's just in your, like, grenade section. Like, I just found this out 2 days ago. And you just, like, this is part, like, you do it in one of the Trevor missions, but I didn't realize you could get it and just use it in the world. So you just, like, pour gasoline on the ground, and then you can shoot it with a gun, and it lights on fire, and it'll, like, blow up cars. So I've had a ton of fun just, like, creating lines of gasoline and trying to, like, light people on fire. Unfortunately, people tend to run away when a crazy balding man with, like, a dirty shirt covered in blood runs up to them with a can of gasoline and starts pouring it at their feet. So usually it's hard to set people on fire, but sometimes, like, it can get, like, a good, like, nice little, like, wall of fire across a freeway or, like, a lane of, like, the road or something. So much fun. Like, it's funny because it's, like, I tended, like, even, like, with something like San Andreas, I almost never just did random crazy shit because I never found it fun. In this game, I find it really fun because, one, I don't necessarily feel like it, like, the story is light enough that it's like I can put it aside and it's like whatever. Like in Grand Theft Auto 4, it felt immensely out of place, whereas here it's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm Trevor, I'm just gonna run down the street beating people to death with a baseball bat. Like, that's what he was doing when I just popped into his life for a second anyways. Why would he stop now that I'm in control?
Right.
And it's just, it's so satisfying because, like I said before, with the verisimilitude, the just how real it feels and how satisfying those systems are to engage with. It's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna light someone on fire with a can of gasoline. So that is awesome.
So do we want to tell some stories about crazy shit we've done?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to start? Because I've got a long one of just like what I did yesterday. A long narrative.
I'll tell a short crazy story. Then you can tell your narrative. Maybe that'll be it. Because I have to go.
Yeah, because I don't have like the only like really big story I have is just what I did yesterday.
Okay. This is though I've been trying to think because we've told lots of stories of horrible things I did in Red Dead.
Yeah.
I obviously have not done anything that bad in GTA 5 yet. In part because it's hard to match tying a woman to train tracks. Stuff like that.
I don't know if you've gotten to this part yet, but there's one of the side things you can do as Trevor is you can pick up random people and take them to a cult where the cult people eat them. You don't see the cult people eating them, but that's heavily implied. Or you can just take them to their house and just be like, bye, guy. Or you can take them to a crazy cult that
well, here, I did do a pickup mission with Trevor. And this was, this is during the part where you can only play as Trevor. I'm out in the sticks.
Yeah.
And I'm driving around one night. I was trying to get to a mission, but there's, one of those events popped up.
Yeah.
I stopped, and there's two drunk people. They want me to drive them home. And it's like, my car's right over there. You can drive it if you want. So I'm like, okay. And I got in their car, got them in the back, drove there. Went almost all the way there, then went off-road, got on this mountain, freaked them out a bunch, drove over this hill, flipped the car like 8 times, crawled out. The car was already pretty fucked up, and they're in there screaming and like being like, what did you do to my car? They're miserable. And I take out a gun and just shoot the gas tank. It explodes. They're dead. That's the worst thing I've done in GTA 5 so far. That's that's my fun, crazy story.
Okay. So for me, like I said, this is like all the time I spent yesterday playing the game, which was like 5 hours. And so I'm not going to give any story spoilers because obviously this isn't even stuff you've played yet, but just general context of what's happening is I'm playing for this whole section. I'm playing as Michael, and right now, like I said earlier, where I'm at in the game, Michael's life has gone to shit. Like, shit with his family is awful. He's gotten into some really bad stuff with some gangsters, and so he's sort of hiding out in the northern section of the game outside of Los Santos with Trevor, and they need to get some money. So, like, you're doing, like, the next big heist where you're going to, rob this bank up in the northern sections of the game. And so, like I said, Michael's life is falling apart. He's an angry fucking man at this point. He's just, like, alone in his life, basically. And the only person who's still kind of stuck with him is one Franklin, but even Franklin's kind of, like, not really deep in with their shit right now. And so he's hanging out with fucking Trevor. And, he hasn't met with Trevor since, like, the 8 years ago with, like, the whole setup of the game. So it's like, his life sucks. And so for the heist, the one thing left I have to do to set up the heist, because how the heist missions work, you have to do a certain number of tasks to get the stuff to do the heist. I think on our next GTA 5 podcast, when I've done all the heists, and you've done all the heists, we can talk about how the heist system works, because that's also really cool. But to do the heist, I need to rob an armored military convoy and get their military-grade stuff. And so how that mission is it'll just, like, it, like, will start at, like, sort of mid-noon. The convoy will, like, spawn at this one military base, then drive over to another military base, and it'll, in the context of the game world, they're probably only driving for the course of, like, 2 to 3 hours. So it's a really tight window to actually solve this mission, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, and normally I would hate that, but that tight window is what created this whole mess. So I'm in where, like, fucking Trevor's town. It's like, okay, I'm wearing this, like, dirty, disgusting fucking suit that is, like, the pair of clothes I took with me when I'm going out to hide with Trevor. Okay, fuck it, I need to go get this military convoy. But I have realized at this point that, like, the window to get it is really tight. So I'm like, okay, shit. I just take a car, start driving, and I realize, oh, fuck, they're getting really close to the military base. If I want to do this now, I have to get there fast. So I just start driving off-road, and I end up, like, leaping over a river, ramming into a tree. My car's fucked. So I'm like, shit, I need to get over there now. So I run into the middle of an intersection, again, in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere, just pull out a sniper rifle, go into, like, slow time mode, just snipe a dude through the window of his car, go take his car. I'm heading there. But when that happened, the police started chasing after me, so I'm like, well, fuck. Just like, I need to get there. So I'm driving off-road again, going over hills, jumps. It's fucking crazy. My car's falling apart. People are shooting at me. I get a little angry at this point, so I ended up throwing a grenade out of the window of my car. I didn't really want to blow up the police because I knew that would make it worse, but I did end up blowing up a police vehicle right behind me. So then it gets to 3 stars, so now a fucking helicopter is chasing after me. So I'm still, like, the convoy is still there, I'm still hauling ass. But, like, one of my tires, my front tires, got shot out. So it's like my car's swerving all over the place. I'm already off-road. It's going really bad. I end up careening off of, like, a small cliff into a river, fall out of the car. I'm being dragged down the river in the rapids, because it's like, this is something I didn't realize, that the current in the game is it's just going to drag your ass down that river. So, like, Michael is fucking drowning. He's got a couple of bullet wounds. I've managed to crawl out of the river. And then I see that the military convoy has reached its destination and I can't complete the mission right now. And then I get really angry. And so then I just start pulling out a rocket launcher and I start killing the cops. And eventually the cops kill me. And then when the cops kill me, I wake up in the middle of buttfuck nowhere at a clinic. So then I'm like, well, shit. But, oh wait, like enough time has passed in the context of the game. Because the military convoy actually passes once midday and then once in like the middle of the night. So you have 2 opportunities a day to do it. So at this point, this is the second time the convoy is going through. Okay, now I can do this. So I steal a car, and still have like the same distance traveled before, but it's like I'm at a point where it's like I could probably get there before the convoy. I should be fine. So I start heading that way, but then on the way there, I pass by a convenience store, and that convenience store is getting robbed by 2 guys, and then like they're in like a shootout with the cops, and I'm like, well, this is a random event that like I want to engage with it. I don't want to just drive it by because I might never see it again. So it's like I kill the cops, and the guys are like, hey man, follow us. If we get out of this shit, we'll give you a piece of the take. So I'm like, well, fuck yeah, because money is really hard to come by in this game, and shit is expensive when you get to like buying property or upgrading cars. So I'm like, okay, like let's do this, motherfuckers. Again, all of a sudden I found myself in a situation I was not expecting it, where I have like half the fucking police force and helicopters coming after me. So I'm driving down the highway with these guys, like in another car, following them, and we're both getting chased by the police. And eventually, like, I'm trying to follow them as well as I can. Eventually, we get split up. I go off the road, and then I jump out of my police car and then run to, like, this abandoned big, like, industrial factory area and hide out there until the police leave. So I'm like, okay, that's taken care of. It really sucks that I didn't manage to get the money, but I can still probably make it for the convoy. So I go get another car, start heading towards the convoy, and while I'm heading there, there's another random event off the road that is just, like, this random van that is parked. And Michael's like, oh, well, this doesn't look good. This looks weird. So I'm like, oh, fuck, I wonder what this is. So I get out of the car, start approaching the van. When I get near the driver's door for the van, all of a sudden, off screen, I get hit by a fucking stun gun, and Michael passes out.
Oh my god.
And it goes so it goes black, then it comes back up. All of a sudden, it's like in the middle of the day, and I'm naked in underwear on the fucking train tracks in the middle of fucking, like, on the, like, the northernmost part of the map, where it's like the military convoy is, like, right north of Los Santos. So I'm fucking just miles and miles. I'm half the game map away from where I need to be now, and the train is coming at me, so I jump out of the way of the train, and now I'm in the middle of the fucking desert in my underwear. So I just start sprinting until I hit a highway. I steal up a guy's car and start driving to the nearest town, just being like, what the fuck is going on? This has been like 2 days in Michael's life. He's just trying to get this military convoy. He has almost died. He's almost drowned. He got shot by the police, woke up in the middle of nowhere, like helped people rob a bank, got no money from it, and now he's been knocked unconscious and almost killed by a fucking train, and he's in his underwear. So I steal a fucker's car. I'm heading to a town. On the way to the town, I'm going around this road, and then I see on the side of the road, there's a fucking dude, also in his underwear, tied to, like, a tree that's just, like, on the side of the road, and he's got, like pink lipstick as, like words and lipstick are drawn on him, so, like, this dude just looks like he, like, had a weird night with a stripper or something, and so I stop, I, like, untie him, get him in the car, and apparently this dude had his bachelor party. This is, like, today is the day of his wedding. He's going to be late for his wedding in, like, 10 minutes. So I need to drive him to his wedding. First I need to drive him to his house where he can get a suit, because he's in his underwear too. I am also in my underwear. We are 2 middle-aged 40-year-old dudes in a van in our underwear. The only reason I picked up this dude contextually in my mind is just because I understand this dude's like in the exact same fucking situation I was just in 5 minutes ago, so I have sympathy for him. So I pick him up, we're driving, it's like, okay, man, like, okay, I get him his fucking suit, and it's like, okay, you got clothes, I wish you had grabbed a pair of pants for me, but whatever. So then we need to go get his fucking wedding ring from his best man, the same best man that basically just like left him in the middle of nowhere after they got like super fucked up on his bachelor party. So you get his his rings from the best man, and then I have to drive him to his wedding. It's like I get him to the wedding in time. So I have a funny little cutscene at the end where Michael is in his fucking underwear, like waving this dude off. He's like, "Thanks, man." It's like, yeah, okay. And the dude's wife, their like soon-to-be wife, is fucking pissed at this guy because he was almost late to the wedding. So it's like, I've been having a weird fucking week, Michael has. And so then I drive to this town, and I'm still basically on the other side of the map. So I drive into a town. It's like, okay, fucking, I need to get some clothes. So I drive into this town, I go in, buy some clothes, and so now Michael is dressed in like this like shitty fucking like Hawaiian t-shirt with like cargo pants and flip-flops on in the middle of the fucking desert. I walk outside, and then when I walk outside, like there's this random dude on the other side of the street who sort of like waves me over, and he just starts like babbling and preaching about like how the American empire is like taking over the world and how it's evil and stuff that like if you're a little less extreme with it, I would more or less agree with. I was not in like the good mood, so I just like punched that dude out and walked away. It's like, fuck you, man. And then I went into a tattoo parlor, and then went into the tattoo parlor. Like, okay, no, before I went to the tattoo parlor, I got a text message or an email from Michael's daughter, which was like this really cool, fun little story moment of like, this text, like the email basically is kind of like, you know, they're in a really rough family situation right now, but the daughter's sort of like reaffirming that like she still loves Michael, and so it's like this really touching moment. I send an email back, and then like I go in to a tattoo parlor, and they get a tattoo on his forearm that's like family forever or something like that, like this like family tattoo, and I get another tattoo that says like Amanda with a heart. It's like, so it's like, I don't know, like Michael's like had this like moment of like, I need to get like, I'm doing this for my family. I want to get my family back. I want to, like, be happy with my family.
He's Walter White.
Yeah, I want to solve the situation. Exactly. And I also that's also when I got a haircut in that town, that, like, his hair got longer at that point, and I got a scruffier beard. So it was like, been through some fucking shit Michael has. Like, this shit has been fucking crazy. And then that was a town where, like, then I just went up to the top of the mountain, because that was the town that has the gondola thing that goes to the top of the mountain. So I went to the top of the mountain, got into a motorcycle, was just like, fuck it, man, and just tried to drive all the way down the mountain in the motorcycle. That did not work out. Ended up crashing. Michael died. Woke up again in an emergency room. I was like, okay, I am going to fucking destroy. I'm going to just eviscerate that military convoy. It is over. Everyone is dying. I've been playing this game for 5 hours. 5 hours, and I just want to do this one goddamn mission that I cannot do. It's like I have drowned, I have been shot to death, I have been stripped naked, I didn't get a cut from this bank heist that I helped with. Like, asshole was preaching at me, and I punched his ass out. I'm going to get this goddamn military convoy. So, like, finally, I, like, look at the map, I'm like, okay, I get there, I fucking cut them off, I just, like, drive a, like, big fucking, like, garbage truck thing I got, just drive in the middle of the intersection, just get out my rocket launcher, and just blow all those motherfuckers away, just take the military convoy, and just deliver it. It's like, done. Fucking, that's it. Michael saves the fucking day. I get out. I'm in different clothes. Got long hair, scruffier beard. I got these cool sunglasses on. And Michael DeSanta is ready for goddamn heist. So that is my experience in GTA 5.
That is GTA 5 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
All right. So, I don't think there's anything more to say after that. We will be back next week. We will do a full review of the narrative side of GTA 5. We will talk about some other things. We will be GTA 5 heavy for a while, though, because we'll be talking about story next week, and then soon after that will be GTA Online.
Yeah, like I think October 2nd is where the multiplayer mode comes out. So.
Yep, so we'll have that to talk about. Other stuff, too, in the coming weeks.
Yep.
But, November is going to be fucking crazy.
Without a doubt.
I think we're going to have to move our Doctor Who retrospective stuff into October.
Sure.
Might need to, just because.
Okay. Yeah.
So November's going to be cramped.
Yeah.
That's all. So, yeah. So, that's GTA 5. I liked your story, Sean.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yes.
And also, it was, like, frustrating in, like, the best way possible, because it's like I connected with Michael, the character.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. In the meantime, have fun with GTA 5. We sure are.
Yeah.
Great fucking game.